Curfew extended in Nepal's Sunsari amid security concerns. Restrictions imposed after tensions spread across key area. Doctors shut outpatient services across Nepal in protest over assault on physician. 68 doctors resign en masse. Nepal Parliament prepares for monsoon session with focus on bills and smooth proceedings. Speaker consults party whips. Ukraine's President Zelensky in US as Kyiv looks to secure Trump's support, seeks continued backing amid intensifying war with Russia. A 7.1 magnitude earthquake strikes Japan's southwest, injuring dozens. Authorities launch rescue efforts and warn of aftershocks. And France appoints Zidane as new national head coach. World Cup winning icon begins new era ahead of 2030 qualification campaign. Good evening, I'm Sarah Sapsanamarai and this is NTV World Prime Time News. We're coming to you live from Kathmandu at 1900 hours Nepal time. Elsewhere, it's 13:15 in London, 22:15 in Tokyo and just after midnight in Sydney. Now the news in detail. Authorities in eastern Nepal's Sunsari district have imposed an indefinite curfew after a violent incident triggered rising tensions across several areas, including parts of the east-west Mahindra Highway. Chief District Officer Ishwari Prasad Aryal said the curfew came into effect from 3:30 p.m. on Tuesday under Local Administration Act 2028 following concerns over public security and disruption to daily life. The restrictions cover Mahindra Highway section from Bakali Chowk in Itahari to the Koshi Barrage Bridge, along with areas extending to 100 meters on both sides of the highway. Public gatherings, rallies, protests, meetings and movement in the restricted areas have been banned. Authorities have also imposed restrictions in Inarua Market, while the impact of the unrest has spread to Biratnagar, where major markets, banks, financial institutions and schools were shut. The curfew follows violent clashes that occurred in Dewanganj Rural Municipality, Kaptanganj on Sunday night. Doctors across Nepal suspended outpatient department OPD services today in protest against the assault of a physician at Narayani Hospital in eastern Nepal's Parsa district. The Nepal Medical Association NMA, the umbrella body representing doctors in the country, announced the nationwide shutdown, saying that all hospital services except emergency care would remain closed. Only emergency services operated across the country today, according to the association. The closure has left many patients seeking treatment stranded at hospitals, with routine medical consultations and checkups disrupted. The protest follows a violent attack on doctors and health workers at Narayani Hospital in Birganj on 24th of July, along with vandalism at the hospital premises. The association has demanded strict action against those responsible for the incident. Dr. Pramod Ram, a medical officer at Narayani Hospital who was seriously injured in the attack, has been transferred to Kathmandu and is receiving treatment at the National Trauma Center. Meanwhile, 68 doctors working at Narayani Hospital have submitted collective resignations to the medical superintendent, Dr. Chittaranjan Shah, expressing their protest over the situation. Meanwhile, Nepal's Ministry of Health and Food Safety has urged doctors not to disrupt essential healthcare services following a nationwide outpatient service shutdown. The appeal came after the Nepal Medical Association halted non-emergency services in protest over an attack on health workers at Narayani Hospital in Birganj. Ministry spokesperson Dr. Samir Kumar Adhikari said healthcare is a sensitive service and doctors must uphold their social responsibility while demanding a safe workplace. The spokesperson urged hospitals to continue providing care without inconvenience to patients and called for cooperation to maintain security at medical facilities. The ministry also condemned the assault on health workers and said those responsible would face legal action. Doctors have demanded justice after a medical officer was seriously injured in the attack that triggered the protest. Moving on, Nepal's House of Representatives Speaker D.P. Aryal has held consultations with chief whips and whips of political parties represented in the parliament ahead of the upcoming session. The meeting at the Speaker's office in Singadarwar focused on the House agenda, improving parliamentary effectiveness and expediting pending bills. The parties also agreed to resume the monsoon session from Thursday after nearly a 2-week suspension and continue it until 13th of October. Rashtriya Swatantra Party RSP's whip Prakash Chandra Pariyar said political parties agreed on the need to protect the Parliament's values and also ensure discussions lead to meaningful outcomes. The role of question sessions, including issues raised during zero hour and special hour, was also discussed with a focus on maintaining the dignity of the House. Nepali Communist Party whip Yuvaraj Dulal said the meeting examined the responsibilities of each political party in ensuring disciplined and orderly parliamentary proceedings. Parties are also seeking agreement on disputes between the ruling coalition and opposition to ensure smooth proceedings. The meeting was attended by representatives of several political parties, while the Shram Sanskriti Party did not participate in the meeting. We're going for a short break here. More news coming up. Do stay with us. You're watching NTV World and this is Primetime News. Welcome back. Nepal's senior political figure, Nepali Congress leader and former Deputy Prime Minister Gopal Man Shrestha has died at the age of 79 while receiving treatment at a hospital in Kathmandu. Congress spokesperson Devraj Chalise confirmed his death, saying the veteran politician passed away at a hospital in Jaulakhel. Meanwhile, the Nepali Congress has called an emergency Central Working Committee meeting to pass a condolence resolution, while Shrestha's body will be kept at the party's central office for public tribute before his final rites at Pashupati Aryaghat is done. Party leaders, including President Gagan Kumar Thapa and former Prime Minister Sher Bahadur Dewa, paid tribute to Shrestha, highlighting his decades-long contribution to Nepal's democratic movement, party organization and public life. Foreign Minister of Nepal, Sisir Khanal, has reaffirmed the country's commitment to strengthening the Bay of Bengal initiative for multi-sectoral, technical and economic cooperation BIMSTEC, calling it a key platform for regional peace, prosperity and sustainable development. During a meeting with BIMSTEC Secretary General Indramani Pandey in Kathmandu, Khanal called for deeper and more results-oriented cooperation among member states to address shared challenges and accelerate economic growth. Nepal also pledged to play an active role as the lead country in promoting people-to-people ties through tourism, culture and grassroots exchanges, ensuring that citizens of member states derive direct benefits from BIMSTEC's initiatives. Nepal has been a member of BIMSTEC since 2004. Established to promote multi-dimensional technical and economic cooperation between South Asia and Southeast Asia, BIMSTEC comprises Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Myanmar, Nepal, Sri Lanka and Thailand. Moving on, Nepal and the United Nations World Food Programme have launched 2 reports highlighting progress in food security, nutrition, education and climate resilience through national-led programs. The reports document the evolution of Nepal's school meal initiative, which began in 1967 and now reaches nearly 3 million children across all 77 districts. WFP said the program has improved school attendance, nutrition outcomes and local economies by linking schools with farmers and cooperatives. The initiative became fully financed by the Nepal government in 2025, marking a shift from donor-supported projects to nationally owned social protection systems. Officials said Nepal plans to expand the program to grade 8 and increase coverage to around 4.5 million children in the coming years. WFP's annual report also highlighted support to more than 438,000 people through programs focused on emergency response, nutrition, climate resilience, and sustainable livelihoods. Cooperative fraud victims who have repeatedly staged protests over the years continue their demonstrations demanding justice. The victims gathered at Maiti Ghar in the capital, urging the government to ensure justice and return their savings. Aprila Khising Lama with Pramila Bhandari reports.
Victims of Nepal's cooperative crises have once again staged a protest in Maiti Ghar, Kathmandu, demanding that the government ensure the return of their savings and take action against those responsible for the collapse of troubled cooperatives. Protesting under the banner of the National Campaign for the Protection of Cooperative Depositors, they have said that demonstrations and negotiations have failed to deliver justice. Protesters have accused the government of creating divisions between small and large depositors. They have demanded equality for all savers, regardless of the amount they deposit.
बाटोमा सडकमा बास छ मेरो भनेपछि यस्तो पीडा छ यहाँ म मात्रै पीडा मेरो मात्रै यो पीडा हैन तमाम मान्छेको यस्तै विभिन्न किसिमको पीडा छ कुर्सीमा बसेर मान्छेले त्यो भित्र के छ जालो के छ त्यो भित्र पसेर मान्छेले हेर्नु पर्यो.
The cooperative crisis has left billions of rupees in deposits at risk, affecting thousands of families and causing severe financial and emotional hardship. Protesters say they will continue protesting until all depositors are guaranteed the return of their savings.
10,000 भन्दा मुनि भन्नु भएको छ अब हाम्रो त रकम अलिकति छ त्यही भएर हो कि अब त्यो त अब हामीलाई पनि भित्रको मान्छे हामीसँग पनि छैन हामी त उही अब हुन्छ कि भन्ने आशले अब एउटा समितिबाट आउने हो हैन अब त्यही हो पाएको छैन हामीले 1 रुपैयाँ पनि पाएको छैन
सहकारीहरुका सञ्चालकहरुको लाई कारबाही गरी उनीहरुको सम्पत्तिबाट हुन्छ या कसरी हुन्छ त्यहाँ पक्कै पनि त त्यो हाम्रो रकम त्यहाँ भकै हुनु पर्छ त हैन र त्यो कले गरे त्यो सरकारले मार्फत हाम्रो माग सुनवाई हुनु पर्यो.
The problematic Cooperative Management Committee says it has made progress in compensating victims. During the last fiscal year, around 11,000 depositors received a total of 710 million Nepali rupees, which is more than $4 million through cash refunds and saving settlements. The committee says refunds have already been provided to depositors with savings of up to 10,000 Nepali rupees, while a second phase is underway to reimburse up to 25,000 Nepali rupees to senior citizens, single women, and people suffering from life-threatening illnesses.
10,000 भन्दा तलको जारी छ सँगसँगै हामीले त्यो ज्येष्ठतम नागरिकहरू एकल महिला र विभिन्न प्राणघातक रोगीहरू भनेर 25,000 जनै रूपमा औषधि उपचारको लागि प्राथमिक रूपमा दिने गरेका छौं. यसैले प्राथमिकता क्रममा दिने कुराको बचत भावी छ. अब बाँकी सबै बचतकर्ताहरूको अहिलेसम्म उठेको रकमबाट चाहिँ वितरण कहिले हुन्छ भन्ने प्रश्न पनि छ. बाहिर पनि छ. हिजो बचत पीडित महासंघ पनि आउनु भएको थियो. हामीले त्यसलाई साउनसम्म असुल भएको कर्जाको आधारमा रकमको आधारमा अनि भदौको तेस्रो हप्तातिर बचत फिर्ता दिने
Despite these measures, protesters say previous agreements with the government were not fully implemented. They insist this latest protest will continue until concrete action is taken to recover their savings.
The use of drone technology has been introduced for the first time in Nepal to sow grass and vegetation seeds as part of efforts to restore forests damaged by wildfires. Nepal's central northern district Rasua has initiated the seed dispersal operation in Jarsa Gothin Community Forest above Gatlang village in Ama Chodingmo rural municipality, targeting areas affected by recent fires. Officials said the first phase will cover 100 hectares of the 455 hectares of forest land damaged by wildfire. Rasua's Division Forest Office plans to disperse around 100 kilograms of seeds, including cypress, pine, rhododendron and other native plant species during the first year of the restoration program. The initiative is being carried out in coordination with the Forest Office and local community forest groups, aiming to accelerate ecological recovery in the Himalayan region. Nature's hidden gem on the Bhojpur-Khotang border is fast becoming a must-visit destination. Kapasi Bhanjang, renowned for its natural beauty and situated along the Bhojpur-Khotang border, has increasingly become a preferred destination for visitors. Local residents say tourist arrivals have grown after the development of infrastructure required for tourism promotion. During clear weather, visitors can enjoy spectacular views of various surrounding landscapes, attracting people seeking to experience the beauty of nature. The local government has developed physical infrastructure at Kapasi Bhanjang to facilitate both domestic and international tourism. Tourism-related facilities, including a park, a statue of Yalambar and other structures have been constructed. Visitors regularly arrive from different parts of Bhojpur and Khotang. Local residents believe that with greater publicity and promotion, the destination could also attract more international tourists. Since it lies at the junction of two districts, infrastructure development is being carried out in coordination with Khotang Rural Municipality of Khotang. International news coming up next. For now, a short breather. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky arrived in the U.S. for talks with President Donald Trump as Kyiv seeks renewed American support in its war against Russia, while global attention remains focused on Washington's wider diplomatic efforts involving conflicts in Ukraine and the Middle East. The visit comes amid intensified Russian and Ukrainian long-range strikes and stalled diplomatic efforts led by Washington to bring an end to the conflict more than 4 years after Russia launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine. The Ukrainian leader is expected to seek continued U.S. military, political and economic support as his country faces sustained pressure on the battlefield. Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who is in Washington, will meet Trump later today with the U.S.-Israeli war on Iran topping the agenda with concerns over regional security and broader Middle East diplomacy. Now, Oman has presented a proposal to Iran for joint management of the Strait of Hormuz with voluntary fees that would ensure Tehran does not exercise sole control of the vital waterway. Iran, however, has said the Strait of Hormuz remains closed, while revealing that talks between Iran and Oman regarding the waterway have yielded positive progress. Ismail Bakai, the spokesperson, said these discussions have nothing to do with the U.S., but a purely bilateral matter between Iran and Oman. According to a report by Iran's Fars news agency, citing official sources, 6 vessels shut off their navigation and positioning systems in the early hours of Monday morning and attempted to transit through a southern channel of the Strait of Hormuz. The report alleged that the ships had attempted the passage under the instigation of the U.S. military. Iranian officials maintain that all transit through the strait must follow Iran-designated channels, warning that other routes present serious dangers. The United States delegation walked out of a UN Security Council meeting after France's ambassador took the floor in protest against comments that compared Washington's voting record on human rights issues with those of authoritarian states, including North Korea. Dan Nigria, an alternative representative to the UN General Assembly and senior U.S. delegation official, criticized France's remarks, accusing Paris of engaging in what he described as disingenuous grandstanding rather than constructive discussion. The diplomatic clash erupted during a Security Council session focused on human rights, where France raised concerns over the U.S. position on several related votes. The U.S. delegation said the comparison was inaccurate and rejected what it viewed as an attempt to undermine Washington's record. The walkout highlighted growing tensions between the two allies over approaches to international institutions, human rights policy, and the role of United Nations in addressing global issues. Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi said several injuries, collapsed buildings and fires have been reported after a 7.1 magnitude earthquake struck the country's southwest. At least 50 people were taken to hospital with injuries, public broadcaster NHK reported. It also said 12 houses had collapsed, with 4 incidents in which people were trapped inside as emergency crews rushed to carry out rescue operations. Authorities issued a temporary tsunami advisory for parts of Kyushu following the powerful quake, but it was later lifted after no significant waves were detected. Power outages affected tens of thousands of households, while bullet train services and flights at Kumamoto Airport were suspended as officials inspected transport infrastructure for damage. The government has established an emergency task force to coordinate rescue and relief efforts, while the Japan Meteorological Agency warned residents to remain alert for strong aftershocks and the risk of landslides in the coming days. Residents in Assam's Sivasagar district are wading through floodwaters surrounding submerged homes as relentless monsoon rains continue to inundate large parts of the northeastern Indian state. State authorities said more than 900,000 people across 1,800 villages have been affected by the flooding, with rivers breaching danger levels and vast areas of farmland, roads and public infrastructure submerged. Rescue teams and disaster response personnel have been deployed to evacuate stranded residents and deliver relief supplies to affected communities. Flood-related disasters are a recurring feature of India's annual monsoon season, when weeks of intense rainfall trigger overflowing rivers, flash floods and landslides across several states. More international news and sports update coming up next. For now, a short break. Public health experts have warned at a major conference in Rio de Janeiro that the global fight against HIV is facing serious challenges as funding dropped by a fifth last year. UNAIDS Executive Director Winnie Byanyima said the goal of ending HIV was no longer being restricted by scientific limitations, but by inequality and political decisions.
The end is no longer limited by science. It's limited by inequality, by political choices. The rich countries, all behind these non-disclosure agreements. So these are the things that are holding us back in ending AIDS. That new innovations that could be rolled out to all who need, and companies could make reasonable profits, that's not happening. Instead, there is maximizing profits in rich markets and a trickle moving slowly in the developing countries.
In South Korea's glittering capital, the Han River bridges are both postcard landmarks and notorious suicide hotspots, now monitored by AI-powered cameras designed to detect people in distress before it is too late. The technology uses real-time video analysis to identify behaviors associated with suicide risk, allowing emergency responders to intervene within minutes. The initiative reflects the scale of a persistent national crisis. Despite its status as a global technology and cultural powerhouse, South Korea continues to record one of the highest suicide rates among developed countries. Government figures show suicide remained the leading cause of death among people aged 10 to 49 in 2024, underscoring the limits of traditional prevention efforts and the growing reliance on artificial intelligence to save lives. Authorities hope the AI surveillance system will strengthen rapid intervention capabilities, but mental health experts stress that technology alone cannot address the underlying social, economic and psychological pressures driving the country's suicide epidemic. The UNESCO World Heritage Committee has approved the expansion of the migratory bird sanctuaries along the coast of Yellow Sea Bohai, Gulf of China, adding the Changshan archipelago in Liaoning province to the World Heritage list. The decision made during the committee's 48th session in Busan further expands the natural heritage site after a previous extension in 2024. Located in Dalian, the Changshan archipelago sits along the East Asian Australasian flyway and serves as a key stopover for millions of migratory birds. The newly added area covers more than 4,900 hectares and is home to over 140 recorded bird species. The sanctuary was first inscribed on the UNESCO World Heritage List in 2019, with the second phase expansion approved in 2024. And with that, we move on to sports update. Former Real Madrid manager Zinedine Zidane has been confirmed as the head coach of the France national team. Didier Deschamps, France's longest-serving manager, ended his 14-year stint in charge after the nation's semi-final exit to Spain at the 2026 World Cup. Zidane, a World Cup winner with France in 1998, has been out of management since leaving Real Madrid for a second time as head coach in 2021. The 54-year-old, widely considered to be France's greatest player, will sign a contract that will see him lead the nation through the 2030 World Cup qualifiers. On being appointed, he said it was a great source of pride to lead the French national side following their fourth-place finish at the World Cup. Zidane's predecessor, Deschamps, guided France to 3 major finals over his 14-year reign, helping the country to their second World Cup success with victory in 2018. Zidane's first competitive fixture in charge will be a Nations League trip to Turkey on 25th of September. Hong Kong, China's fencers are making in fact history in the 2026 Fencing World Championships. In the team foil event, the city's trio of Chung Ka-long, Ryan Choi and Harris Ho are in the final for the first time with the gold medal in sight. In the semi-final, in fact, Choi started first against the US. Olympic star Chung Ka-long then fought to take the lead at 15-12 after 3 bouts. Reaching the end of the 6th bout, Hong Kong was still leading 30-26. Choi eventually took the final bout with an accumulated score of 45-43. The team will take on the winner of the other semi-final, Italy, later Tuesday evening. And before wrapping up, here's a look into the headlines once again. Curfew extended in Nepal's Sunsari amid security concerns. Restrictions imposed after tensions spread across key area. Doctors shut outpatient services across Nepal in protest over assault on physician. 68 doctors resign en masse. Nepal's parliament prepares for monsoon session with focus on bills and smooth proceedings. Speaker consults party whips. Ukraine's President Zelensky in US as Kyiv looks to secure Trump's support. Seeks continued backing amid intensifying war with Russia. A 7.1 magnitude earthquake strikes Japan's southwest, injuring dozens. Authorities launched rescue efforts and warn of aftershocks. And France appoints Zidane as new national head coach. World Cup winning icon begins new era ahead of 2030 qualification campaign. That's it for this edition of Primetime News. Our next bulletin will be at 2200 hours Nepal time. Do join us through our social media and get the latest update from our official website, nepaltelevision.com. I'm Sarah Sapsanamarai. Thanks for staying with us. Have a wonderful evening ahead.
Welcome to the studios of NTV World in Kathmandu. Public Service Broadcasting PSB Nepal's new initiative to make Nepal more visible and audible to the global audience. Welcome on board.
This is NTV World. Facts that speak, insights that matter.
Telling the stories of a changing planet. NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Exploring the heartbeat of Nepali creativity. This is NTV World.
The power of story shaped by technology. NTV World.
Unearthing Nepal's hidden heritage. Discovering the timeless Nepal. Telling stories that endure across centuries. Where culture breathes, stories bloom.
When the world moves, we make a sense of it. NTV World.
Taste of Nepal. Every recipe, every flavor tells the story.
Journalism in the digital age. Fast, focused, verified.
Stories hold power. Stories reflecting life. Stories of the hinterlands. Reporting for NTV World.
This is NTV World. Welcome to News Hour.
This is NTV World. Welcome to Primetime News.
One story at a time.
Crossing borders, connecting voices, where Nepal meets the world in dialogue. This is NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Voices that connect Nepal to the world, bringing perspective, region and relevance to every story. NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Stand by. Mic is on.
3, 2, 1, cue.
We are NTV World.
This is The World This Week, your weekly roundup of the latest international events and updates. I am Bhavana Kesi, and in this edition, we bring you the week's top headlines from escalating geopolitical tensions, major diplomatic developments, global trade disputes, climate extremes, science, culture, and extraordinary stories of human feats and resilience. We have all that you need. Let's begin with the developments in U.S. imposed trade tariffs. The United States has imposed new tariffs on imports from 60 countries, including China, the UK, and the European Union, escalating President Donald Trump's renewed trade offensive.
The U.S. has imposed new tariffs on 60 trading partners in the latest escalation in the trade war reignited by U.S. President Donald Trump when he returned to office last year. Those targeted, including the UK, China, and the European Union, will face a tariff of 10% to 12.5% on all goods, accounting for almost all American imports. The tariffs, which replace an identical levy which expires on Friday, are based on claims that key economic partners have failed to properly tackle forced labor. The U.S. Supreme Court had ruled earlier this year that many of the tariffs imposed globally under emergency powers were illegally enacted. The 10% to 12.5% duties on imports were proposed last month by the White House and over concerns that they were not doing enough to tackle forced labor. It added the new duties apply to the top 60 U.S. trade partners, covering 99.4% of U.S. imports.
Tensions between the United States and Iran have escalated after Tehran launched drone strikes on U.S. military facilities across the Middle East in response to continued American attacks.
Iran says it has carried out drone strikes on U.S. military facilities and bases across the Middle East in retaliation for the 13th consecutive night of American attacks on the country. Explosions were reported along Iran's Gulf Coast and in western, northern, and central areas. 4 people were killed and 5 injured in an attack in the southwest, according to Iranian state media. Iran later announced strikes on U.S. allied Kuwait, while sirens sounded in Bahrain and Jordan, and flights were suspended at a major Iraqi airport after a reported drone crash. It comes as Iran condemned the U.S. plan to use frozen Iranian assets to pay for war damages, in a sign of further escalation between the two countries. On Thursday, U.S. President Donald Trump said damages to ships and cargo in the Strait of Hormuz would be paid for by Iranian money that the United States has in its possession and controls. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi responded by saying that seizing another country's assets to pay for unrelated future claims is an incendiary precedent. In June, the U.S. and Iran agreed on a 14-point memorandum of understanding to halt military operations and reopen the Strait of Hormuz, as well as to reach an agreement to end the war over the following 60 days. But 3 weeks after it was signed, Trump declared the ceasefire over after Iranian attacks on ships in the strait and U.S. strikes in response. Meanwhile, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has warned that the escalating Middle East conflict is pushing the region toward an unimaginable crisis, as growing confrontations risk triggering a wider cycle of instability.
When parties prioritize military solutions over negotiated settlements, civilians pay the heaviest toll. We see this on full display in the Middle East, with devastating consequences in the region and across the globe. The situation is getting out of control. It's teetering on the edge of the unimaginable. The region is being pulled into an ever-widening circle of confrontation. One crisis feeds another, when escalation triggers the next.
The escalating confrontation between the United States and Iran has raised fears of a wider regional war as diplomatic efforts struggle to contain the growing tensions.
The United Kingdom has a new Prime Minister, with Andy Burnham promising sweeping reforms to tackle economic challenges, rebuild industry and restore political stability.
Andy Burnham of the Labour Party has been appointed the United Kingdom's 7th Prime Minister in a decade. Burnham, as he took the office as the new Prime Minister, pledged a 10-year plan aimed at tackling the cost of living crises, rebuilding industry and restoring political stability. In his first address as Prime Minister, Burnham said his government would set out a long-term vision for the country later this year.
Later this year, I will bring forward a new plan for Britain, a 10-year plan, laying out a path from where we are now to where I believe we all want Britain to be, wherever we're coming from, whatever party we support.
He also pledged to re-industrialize Britain and address homelessness, including ending rough sleeping on the country's streets. Burnham also announced plans to remove value-added tax from electricity bills from October, saying the move will help ease pressure on households struggling with the cost of living. His leadership marks a shift toward a more left-leaning approach for the ruling Labour Party, with a focus on economic intervention and public service. Outgoing Prime Minister Keir Starmer, in his farewell remarks outside 10 Downing Street, meanwhile said he would give his full support to his successor.
I'm about to visit His Majesty the King to offer my resignation and close the book on my time as Prime Minister. My work is done. In 6.5 years, I took our party from a historic defeat in 2019, changed it so it was fit to face the country, and won a landslide general election victory in 2024. Since then, it has been the privilege of my life to serve you and this great country as Prime Minister.
Burnham now faces the challenges of delivering on promises to ease financial pressures on households while addressing broader economic and social issues facing the United Kingdom. The Prime Minister has appointed John Healey as Chancellor, Ed Miliband as Foreign Secretary, and Wes Streeting as Defence Secretary. Angela Rayner has returned to her previous role as Housing Secretary, while Shabana Mahmood remains Home Secretary, maintaining continuity in key domestic portfolios.
The Nelson Mandela International Day has been marked across the globe with renewed calls for global action to end poverty, inequality and injustice, while honoring the late South African leader's enduring legacy of peace and reconciliation.
The United Nations marked Nelson Mandela International Day with renewed calls for global action to tackle poverty, inequality, and social injustice. During an observance at the UN General Assembly, Secretary General Antonio Guterres said, "Ending poverty requires a transformation of economies and societies that puts people at the center." Delivering remarks on behalf of the Secretary General, UN Chef de Cabinet Earl Courtney Rattray highlighted Mandela's belief that progress depends on collective action.
Ending poverty and inequality requires rewiring economies and societies to focus policies, budgets and investments where they belong, on people.
He said Mandela's legacy was built on principle of freedom, justice, equality, solidarity, reconciliation, compassion and peace, urging countries to continue working toward a more inclusive world.
As we mark Mandela Day, let's recommit to the timeless principles that defined his life: freedom, justice, equality, solidarity, reconciliation, compassion, peace. Let's carry forward Mandela's vision of a just, inclusive, equal and peaceful world.
UN General Assembly President Annalena Baerbock also honored Mandela's vision, saying peace requires more than the absence of conflict. She said lasting peace depends on human dignity, justice and equality, adding that the responsibility to fight poverty and inequality remains with the international community.
Nelson Mandela reminded this assembly, us, of the same principles that guided the founding of this organization. That peace requires more than the absence of conflict, that it requires human dignity, justice, and equality for all. As we mark the Nelson Mandela International Day, we honor not only that vision, we acknowledge our own responsibility to carry this work, this spirit forward. As reflected in this year's theme, it is still in our hands to combat poverty and inequality.
Representatives from civil society and local governments also called for policies that ensure access to basic needs, including food, housing and healthcare, while protecting universal human rights. Nelson Mandela was a South African anti-apartheid leader, human rights activist, and the country's first black president. The United Nations General Assembly declared July 18 the birthday of Mandela as the Nelson Mandela International Day in recognition of the former South African president's lifelong contribution to peace, freedom, and reconciliation. Born on July 18, 1918 in Vezo, South Africa, Mandela became one of the most influential figures in the global struggle against racial discrimination and inequality.
In India, thousands of protesters have taken to the streets to take part in the protest led by Cockroach Janata Party demanding education reforms and the resignation of Education Minister over concerns about examination irregularities.
Protests led by India's Cockroach Janata Party or CJP have intensified as thousands of young people continue demonstrations demanding education reforms and the resignation of Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan. The satirical youth-led movement emerged after remarks by India's Chief Justice earlier this year, who used the term cockroach while referring to unemployed young people entering journalism and activism. The comments sparked criticism, after which he clarified that he was referring only to individuals with fake and bogus degrees. Representatives on Friday held talks with the Indian government following weeks of protest over allegations of examination paper leaks, including controversies surrounding the National Eligibility Cum Entrance Test or NEET. However, both sides said the discussions failed to resolve the protesters' key demand for the Education Minister's resignation. The CJP-led protest has gained further attention after activist Sonam Wangchuk ended a 26-day hunger strike in support of the movement. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has responded by promising stronger measures to prevent examination paper leaks, saying a draft law will be reviewed by the cabinet. Despite the Indian government's response, protesters say they will continue their campaign as the movement spreads across several Indian cities and increases pressure over concerns surrounding the country's education system.
Western Europe has recorded its hottest June on record as extreme heat fueled devastating wildfires in Spain and France, forcing evacuations and threatening communities.
Western Europe is facing a growing climate crisis as record-breaking heat fuels devastating wildfires across Spain and France. The World Meteorological Organization says the region experienced its hottest June on record, with climate change and unusually warm sea temperatures intensifying extreme weather conditions. In France, officials evacuated the entire peninsula on the southwest coast as wildfires swept through the region, forcing thousands of people to flee. Firefighters battled flames that had burned thousands of hectares of land, while some residents escaped by boat. Meanwhile, Spain declared a national emergency as multiple fires spread out of control near Madrid and other regions. Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez described the situation as dramatic and urged people to remain cautious. Scientists warned that rising temperatures are increasing the frequency and intensity of heat waves and wildfires, highlighting the urgent need for stronger climate action.
India has moved closer to its first human space flight mission after ISRO successfully tested a key crew module recovery system for the Gaganyaan program.
India has taken another major step toward its first human spaceflight mission after the Indian Space Research Organisation (ISRO) successfully completed a key crew module recovery test for the Gaganyaan program. The second integrated airdrop test, conducted at the Satish Dhawan Space Centre in Sriharikota, Andhra Pradesh, focused on testing the parachute system that will help safely bring astronauts back to Earth after the space mission. During the test, the crew module was released from an aircraft and the recovery system was activated. A sequence of 10 parachutes deployed successfully, reducing the module's speed and preparing it for a safe splashdown, demonstrating the effectiveness of the system designed to protect astronauts during the re-entry. The latest test follows the completion of the first integrated airdrop test in August of 2025, as ISRO continues a series of trials to validate critical technologies ahead of the crewed mission. The Gaganyaan mission aims to send Indian astronauts into low Earth orbit and safely return them to Earth. The country's first crewed space flight is scheduled to launch from Sriharikota in 2027.
More than 1,000 competitors from 53 countries gathered in the Netherlands for the European Speed Cubing Championships, showcasing the growing popularity of competitive Rubik cubes solving.
More than 1,000 competitors from 53 countries have gathered in Arnhem, the Netherlands, for the 11th European Speed Cubing Championships. The competition features a range of Rubik's Cube solving events, including traditional timed challenges, blindfolded solving, and unusual categories such as solving cubes while wearing oven gloves. Known as speed cubing, the sport requires competitors to solve puzzles as quickly as possible, using techniques developed through practice, memory, and precise hand movements. Participants from across Europe and other regions are taking part in the event, which brings together some of the world's fastest cube solvers. Karl Renatus, a competitor and member of the World Cube Association communication team, said the speed cubing community continues to attract people from different backgrounds through their shared interest in the puzzle. Organizers say the championship highlights the growing international popularity of competitive Rubik's Cube solving and provides a platform for participants to compete and exchange skills. The event also features rankings and official records, which competitors aiming to achieve the fastest solving times in their respective categories. The championship is part of a global competitive circuit that continues to expand as more players join organized speed cubing events.
Jordan's Aqaba Marine Reserve is seeking UNESCO World Heritage status after conservation experts recognize its resilient coral reef ecosystem and global scientific importance.
Jordan's Aqaba Marine Reserve, home to the world's northernmost tropical coral reef system, is seeking UNESCO World Heritage status after conservation advisors recommended it for inscription. The reef has demonstrated remarkable resilience, showing high survival and recovery rates despite rising sea temperatures that have devastated coral ecosystems elsewhere. Scientists believe the site could provide vital insights into protecting coral reefs from the impacts of climate change and help shape future global conservation strategies. If approved, the designation would recognize the reserve's outstanding universal value while boosting international support for its long-term protection, scientific research, and sustainable tourism. The reef is home to hundreds of species of corals, fish, and other marine life, making it one of the Red Sea's most biodiverse ecosystems. The 196 member states of the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization are scheduled to vote on new additions to the World Heritage and World Heritage in Danger lists from July 24, when the World Heritage Committee convenes in Busan, South Korea. A successful inscription would mark another milestone in global efforts to safeguard ecosystems that are proving resilient in the face of a warming planet.
Japan's centuries-old annual festival has brought thousands of spectators to Fukuoka, where teams race through the streets carrying massive traditional floats.
Teams of men carrying heavy floats raced through the streets of Hakata, Fukuoka Prefecture, as part of the annual Hakata Gion Yamakasa Festival. The festival, which has a history of more than 780 years, is designated as an important intangible folk cultural property of Japan and is included on UNESCO's Intangible Cultural Heritage list. Crowds gathered before dawn near Kushida Shrine, the festival's main site. The first float entered the shrine grounds after the sound of drums signaled the start of the event. 7 teams then carried floats through the city while chanting Oisa. Spectators threw buckets of water over the participants to help cool them during the race. Large crowds lined the streets to watch the event and record the procession with cameras and smartphones. A woman in her 70s from Shiga Prefecture said she returns to Hakata every year to watch the festival. She said the sight of the floats give her goosebumps and marks the beginning of summer for her.
A record flamingo chicks have hatched at Turkey's Lake Tuz, marking the highest number recorded in 5 years and offering a hope for wetland conservation efforts.
A record 12,800 flamingo chicks have hatched at Lake Tuz, one of Turkey's most important wetlands and a key breeding ground for the species. The figure marks the highest number of flamingo hatchlings recorded at the lake in the past 5 years, highlighting the success of ongoing conservation efforts. Environmental experts attribute the increase to strict habitat protection measures and favorable water levels following recent rainfall, which have provided abundant food and ideal breeding conditions. Authorities say the healthy breeding season is an encouraging sign for the region's biodiversity as the young flamingos prepare for their seasonal migration in the coming months.
Sri Lanka's annual Ruhunu Maha Kataragama Isala festival has begun, bringing together thousands of devotees from different faith communities in a celebration of multi-religious harmony.
The annual Ruhunu Maha Kataragama Isala festival has begun in Sri Lanka, attracting thousands of devotees from different religious communities to the historic Kataragama sacred site. The festival is regarded as a symbol of religious coexistence, bringing together Buddhist, Hindu, and Islamic communities for a series of traditional ceremonies and religious observances. Buddhist devotees gathered at the Kirivihara Stupa for prayers, while Hindu pilgrims visited the main shrine after completing the weeks-long Padayatra pilgrimage, a traditional journey through forests and rural areas. The local Islamic mosque within the sacred precinct also took part in the opening celebrations by holding a traditional flag-hoisting ceremony, highlighting the participation of different faith communities in the event. A major part of the festival's opening night featured a ceremonial procession carrying a sacred relics casket on a decorated tusker along the main street toward the Vali Ama Devalaya. The procession included traditional dancers and drummers before the rituals concluded at the main temple. The festival will continue with nightly processions and religious ceremonies through July 29. The event is receiving international coverage through Sri Lanka's national television network, which is providing official media sponsorship.
Chinese tech companies are showcasing advanced humanoid robots at the World Artificial Intelligence Conference in Shanghai, highlighting the country's growing ambitions in artificial intelligence and automation.
Chinese humanoid robot companies protested their latest developments at the World Artificial Intelligence Conference in Shanghai, highlighting the country's growing focus on artificial intelligence and robotics. The event featured a range of humanoid robots designed for different applications as companies demonstrate advances in machine movement, artificial intelligence systems, and human-robot interaction technologies. China has increased efforts in recent years to develop its robotics industry, with companies investing in research and production of advanced machines capable of performing tasks in industrial, commercial, and service settings. The country is seeking to expand its role in the global technology sector by promoting innovation in artificial intelligence, automation, and emerging technologies. The World Artificial Intelligence Conference brings together technology companies, researchers, and industry representatives from around the world to showcase new developments and discuss the future of artificial intelligence. Visitors at the conference are able to view demonstrations of robotic systems as Chinese companies highlight their progress in rapidly developing field of humanoid robotics.
And that's all for this edition of The World This Week. Thank you for joining us, and we hope you enjoyed as much as we did bringing it to you. We look forward to bringing you more of the stories shaping the world next week. You can also visit our website at www.nepaltelevision.com and follow us on our social media platforms and YouTube channel. I am Bhavana Kesi. Until next time, take care and goodbye.
Welcome to Creative Forum with me, Shivani Thapa Bosnet. In our last episode, we spoke of the soul of the image. Today we look at the machinery behind it. How do stories across borders? How does a social media algorithm change the way a family in Kathmandu or Paris sees themselves? Joining me today are two masters of the global narrative. Mr. Wang Bothao, a veteran journalist and the deputy director of CGTN French, who has captured stories in over 30 countries. And Dr. Jennifer Kuhl, a visual anthropologist from the University of Southern California, who decodes the complex intersection of culture and technology. You are here in Kathmandu for NIF 2026, the Nepal International Film Festival, right? A city and then this prestigious film festival, both full of stories. Could you share what has captivated you most since your arrival here?
First, because the weather here, the climate is very delightful. Because coming from Beijing, and this season is normally very cold. But now here, I feel very warm, like 20 degrees. It's not hot either. And the air is fresh, the sky is blue, so the breeze, the spring breeze feels very comfortable. And secondly is the people here in Kathmandu are incredibly hospitable. This is really, I don't know if it's because I'm Chinese, you receiving a special treatment, or if so, I feel very honored. If you treat everyone like this, I have to say that you are truly a nation of hospitality, and I have to congratulate you on that. Mm-hmm. I can give you several examples. When we came out from the airport yesterday in the minibus, which took us to the opening ceremony venue, we saw some school girls sitting in a roadside shop. They waved and smiled at us. That really gave us much warmness in our hearts. And as soon as we arrived to the opening ceremony venue, and people came to offer us colorful kata scarves. And then during the opening ceremony, our names are repeatedly cited by the host and as a distinguished guest, and we feel really very, very flattered. And now it's just the second day, and I'm already invited here. It's just amazing.
Right, hospitality is encoded in our culture, right? So for us, guests are synonymous to gods. Dr. Kuhl, what does your experience say so far of Kathmandu and NIF?
Yeah, I've been to Nepal before last, but it's almost 37 years since I last was here, and it just was so heartwarming to see. It's very modern, but it is echoing the traditional architecture of Nepal with the wooden slats and just sort of the proportions, and to see that everywhere, including at our hotel. It's nice to see Kathmandu is modernized, but it hasn't lost the look of the Kathmandu that I remember from the 80s.
So do you have any recollections from back then? Because as far as I know, you're very small, and I could see those very beautiful pictures with your parents.
That was when I was first here, but they came back. They were stationed here again in 1980. So 86, I came here when I was in college. I remember going to Indrachok to get beads. And I remember a famous painter, Tanka painter, Bibi Thapa, and seeing his studio. So yes, I have many memories from the 80s, and it is much different, bigger buildings, the idea to have Wi-Fi everywhere, but it's very rare to have all this level of modernity alongside still very distinctive Nepali flavor. Atmosphere, the looks, the art, all of this. I went near our hotel is the Garden of Dreams, and it's just very beautiful. So all of those are positives, and then I kind of laugh because I'm still, having grown up abroad, I don't often feel American, but in Nepali traffic, I feel very American because it's scary to me. And it's not just driving on the different side of the road. I'm thinking like, oh my gosh, crossing the street.
The only way to escape is to live here for some time unless you get used to it.
Yeah.
Over 22 years, Mr. Batao, you've traveled across continents, right?
Yes.
From Europe to Africa, America, and Asia, of course. So in your experience, what makes a story truly resonate across cultures?
I think it's humanity. This is the most important thing for me in any kind of creation. Actually, when we talk about cinema today, we can see that more and more modern technology are used, and people start to use AI too. But for me, the most important part in cinema is really the side of the humanity, is the story, is the story which really touched the heart of people. Anyway, for me, if I go to a cinema to see a movie, I don't go there to see all these special effects or things like this. I go there for a story which will touch me. So I think whatever the form of the art that you create, the most important part is to show the humanity.
From an anthropological lens, how do a cultural context, especially the social norms and technology, help shape the way stories are received, and how do you think they should be told?
I guess the first, it's the question that you would ask my colleague Batao here about. I think there are certain human universals, and certainly we were one of the categories I'm on the jury for is national shorts and national documentaries. So things like family, as you said, things you can identify with, but the sort of the idea of people, suffering and longing for something. If you can relate, we can all relate on that sense. I don't think technology changes the what; it changes the how. Yes. But the essence, the story, the soul, and something that people can connect to, that's got to be the heart of it. And sometimes it's harder with cross-cultural, but I don't really think so, because I think oftentimes when something is abstracted and it's not familiar, then you can see the humanity instead of knowing, oh, it's those people, right? To have a little distance can actually humanize.
Can you share a story from your travels, both of you, or from your research maybe, that stayed with you because it bridged cultural divides?
April 1st, I went to Bodha. Because I had my parents to commemorate. Both had passed away, and they both loved Nepal. So I went there. There was the Tamil Jatra festival to honor passed away relatives, and everybody there was so kind. I was putting the offering in the wrong place, and somebody who, she saw me and she just took my hand and put like that. And there was no, I didn't know what she was speaking Nepali or another language. We didn't use words. She just gently corrected me, and the eye contact. So that was really quite nice, because it was quite crowded and you have to go up and down stairs, and I didn't have fear of falling or just performing the puja wrong, because people just help you be right. So that's sort of this cross-cultural feeling. Which, yes, I think it's definitely in the Nepali spirit, and also because there's so many tourists, you have a lot of people who are lost and don't know how to do it the right way. So the patience was much appreciated.
It was a travel that from the Casablanca in Morocco to the capital of Rabat, and I don't remember why. There was a train actually which took me to the capital city of Rabat, but I didn't know why, but I still remember that I rented a car because maybe it's because it was too late at night and there was no more train, so I had to go to the other city, which was the capital city, to cover a very important event. So I had a car, a private car, with a guy, a local guy, who spoke only Arabic.
Okay.
And I spoke at that time Chinese, English, and French, but not Arabic. So I still remember, and he drove the car nearly 2 hours from Casablanca to Rabat. And all the way along, I was quite scared because he drove the car always in the absolutely darkness. I was really very worried. Sometimes I told myself, will he take me to a place and then kill me and kidnap me? Because we couldn't communicate between us. He couldn't understand me, I couldn't understand him. But I just showed him where I shall head to. And still, you know, without the possibility to communicate in our language, still we try to make us understood by gestures, or sometimes we play a piece of music, then he tried to, you know, get out some words in French and things like this. And we had a wonderful night together, finally, because actually to lower his cost, he didn't pick the highway. He chose a very small, a narrow way, which is even darker. So I was really, really scared. But finally, everything, you know, ended very well. He took me to the much brighter city of Rabat, and I paid him. And this memory, I think, will still today, every time when I think of my career, I can think of this guy.
So the next time you decide to go back, you'll want to learn Arabic.
Yes, probably. Yes.
Dr. Jennifer, in scenarios like this world is huge, beautiful, so much diversity. How do you see the role of cinema bringing the world together?
Certainly sharing stories, learning, you know, that things can look very different on the surface, but that the actual emotions that we all share as one species. Obviously, emotions are shaped by culture, but beneath that, I mean, as I try to teach in my introductory class, that there are very small set of basic needs, and culture is many varieties of ways, endless varieties of ways to solve those needs. So we have families because humans are born helpless. They can't just raise themselves, but there are many different arrangements of families, and that's that sort of thing. So I think cinema certainly was the, you know, sort of the defining art form of the 20th century. It's become something different in the 21st century. I remember, since media and technology is sort of my field, when new media, and I worked in new media for so long, I used to joke, how can they keep calling it new media? Because I've been working in it for over, you know, this many years. Oh, well, you know, cinema, that's linear cinema. It's so passé. We're going to be non-linear. And I just sat quietly, because it's like saying, well, now we have computers. Who needs poetry? You need poetry as much or even more. So we see that people don't want to be interactive. You want to go and sit down and have a story told to you. Cinema is already interactive because you are the reacting person, and no two people see the same film. That's why I'm really looking forward. We have our jury meeting later, and I'm not looking forward to arguing for what I think, but learning what films other people saw the same film, they saw different things. So for me, I mean, cinema is has a new place in the world of social media and YouTube and this kind of thing. But there was a lovely a lovely film made, and actually it was connected to Nepal. It was a Tibetan monk returning. But the name of that film is the name of the film is "Films Are Dreams That Wander in the Light of Day," and that's, I think, to me, my favorite movie title ever. So we can dream together, what could be more intimate?
Right.
I think the biggest magic of cinema is the power of image. I think, for example, this time I took with me my first documentary as a producer, which tells the story of 6 children in the Xizang autonomous region in China. And these, students, they go to boarding schools, and we work with the French director Jacques Malater, and he was in every scene he shot, and he communicated. He lived with these children and exchanged with them, and there were many language barriers, because not only between Chinese and French, because the director is a French guy. he doesn't speak neither Chinese or Tibetan. So there was a lot of language barriers. But finally, when you go to see this documentary, the final version, and you will see that many of the emotional scenes that we don't need language, because it's just direct. It just goes, it touches the very profound part of your heart. For example, with these 6 kids, every time in the end of of each episode, there is a scene of farewell. I think this is just universal. People know that someone who cries with you for some time and then have to leave you. And at that time, no need any language. People just see, the sadness.
Yeah.
It's just, I think this is the greatest magic of cinema.
Yes. On the topic of technology, though, something you said spurred the recollection. One thing that technology is unmitigatedly great at is the new ease of the subtitles, right?
Yes,
and that you can have the separate SRT files. And I mean, it used to be very difficult to burn it in, a cost. So the fact that people can just take a transcript and you show the same film and drop in the separated text file is beautiful. The explosion on Netflix or Amazon Prime or any of those OTT streaming services in the U.S., now we can see global cinema in the U.S.
Exactly.
And the barriers are down, and I credit foreign cinema and other things of technology. People used to, and when I was in film school, people used to say, subtitles. You go to those foreign French films, I don't go to read, read. And now people are happy to read, and people even in their own homes with English programs put on those subtitles. So that, I think, people who, the purists who want only image, maybe not happy, but it makes us feel we can all...
exactly. Language in today's world is not a barrier at all, because and thanks to forums like NIF, Cannes, and all the film festivals, and of course the subtitles, we have to be thankful to them, because today in Nepal, if you talk about Nepal, young generations, they know Korean, they know Turkish, they know Iranian language by virtue of the subtitles and the films that they watch on Netflix and on all the portals, right? Staying with technology, Dr. Jennifer, you've studied ethnographic storytelling, right? And media ecology very, very extensively. How do you think has social media changed the way communities narrate their own stories?
That's a very big question. Certainly, it doesn't replace, when you talked about ecologies, I think it's really important that one thing doesn't replace the other. That we still have pencils and pens, they come in handy just because there are computers. So I think social media is a different thing. I don't know that it's all about community, because I always think, how do you define community? It's a very broad, there's a lot of literature about that. Even thinking about the Max Weber, the famous sociologist, talked about the community of the streetcar, or just as I was talking at Boda, that's the community of people that are going to make the observance. It can be fleeting. It doesn't have to be permanent or that kind of thing. But I think social media, it can compete in a lot of ways, but then also connecting, so people can hype is one word for it, but also say, hey, share is another word for it. So it's much more tricky in terms of getting the word out. And there are some, as a scholar, you're often critical to worry about sort of the competition for attention. We still have the same number of hours in the day. We still have the same nervous system that was really built, for Neolithic times, thousands of years ago. And so I think that there are dangers. But as long as, going back to the opening ceremony yesterday, they were talking about future forward, but keeping memories. And so I think that there's that give and take with the question you asked me in terms of the effect of social media on cinema. Some positives, but also we have to, with our eyes open, see that there can also be challenges.
Does this present any sort of risks on the authenticity of the stories that are coming?
Of course. There is a huge risk. As I work for CGTN, and I can tell you that this documentary that I brought here was my first documentary. During my first 20 years of career, I worked mainly on journalism. For example, in the journalism, we are strictly forbidden to use any kind of AI technology. Anyway, in the TV channel where I work, there are very strict, code to forbid this, because or else people don't know if it's true or false. But I think for those creation parts, I think we can use this kind of new technology or social media. I think is rather beneficial. It can bring us a lot of powerful and efficient tools to, for example, to not only lower the cost but also increase the efficiency of our production. I think on this side it's a good thing. But for me, I just followed several days ago, the French annual cinema festival, which is César, the French César. I see that in France, people also, these people who really have a strong love for the traditional cinema, when they are on the stage, they all called for people to get back to the cinema, to see the big screens. I think this is, sometimes I feel a little bit sad too, because I think maybe with the social media, people spend our days, lying in bed and just scrolling, these short videos. Sometimes it's a little bit sad, especially for those who make cinema of great quality, and they spend their whole life to produce high quality and very good movies, and then sometimes people don't go to the cinema. They go there, less. And sometimes people just lie on their bed and they use a platform like Netflix, and they can see any movies they want. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. Maybe for the TV, or not only for cinema, for the TV, the profession that I execute is the same thing, because people don't watch TV anymore. They watch TV shows, they use their phone.
Yeah.
So
right here, I would want to ask, as a producer and as a journalist working in a transnational, television, yes, how do you even, balance this immediacy and spectacle of global media?
We don't have the choice, because most of the people now use an iPhone. We use smartphone. So our strategy is now much more oriented to all these digital, side. Yeah. When we create, when we do something, make a report, sometimes, the first platform that we broadcast is not our TV screen, it's the platform of social media. So this is what we do to, take this challenge, because we don't have the choice, because when nobody opens their TV, it's I don't know, it's a little bit sad, but it's the trend. No one can stop that trend. I don't know what shall we do. But maybe if you see these things from another side, maybe it's a good thing, because there are still people who go to cinema.
Let's talk craft here, Dr. Batao, Mr. Batao. You launched the reality TV show. I'm not sure if I would pronounce this right, the name of the Français, right? And you also produced documentaries like Learners from the Top of the World, and then there is China, Africa 2035, yes, really interesting pieces. Now, what exactly do you look for when deciding which stories to tell and which stories will travel, beyond borders? How do you even decide that?
For any kind of creation work, the most important part is the humanity side. For the documentary that I brought here, for example, as I said, we showed the lives of 6 children of Xizang, 14 years old. And I, as the chief producer of this project, I went there only once during the beginning of the project. And then I had a lot of work to do, in the headquarters. So it's the executive team who went there during nearly 2 months. It's really tough work. But finally, when I see the movie, the most touching part of this documentary is really all these emotions that are shown here. Especially for me, it's even more special because I have myself a daughter of 14 years old. So when I see these boys and girls of 14 years old on the plateau of Xizang, actually I found out that through the camera of Jack Malata that they are actually like my daughter, exactly the same thing. So it touched me a lot.
Dr. Jennifer, from a filmmaking perspective, especially in ethnographic storytelling or work, how do you decide between observation and narrative intervention? I mean, how do you stay true to your subjects while crafting a very compelling story?
Well, I mean, in terms of the trend of ethnographic cinema, we have for the last 20 years at least moved towards more participatory rather than extractive filmmaking where there's the separation of people on either side of the camera. Now it is seen as more collaborative because that's always how it has been. It's just to acknowledge that.
In your opinion, what do you think is the single most important principle the young storytellers, whether it is journalists or whether it's filmmakers, should hold on to today?
Don't forget the past. I mean, I am not as rosy-colored about the technology, perhaps, as we are sounding, especially when I hear that you're saying the same thing that I hear out, is that we don't have a choice. And then I'm always worried about, well, then where is this power? Because if it's not the power from the people, then where is it coming from? But I do have a lot of faith if you don't forget the past, because this has been the gift of humanity, is that we don't have to discover everything for ourselves. We have from previous generations, from 200,000 years, there's been humanity. We've been writing things and teaching things, a little bit less than that time, but particularly in a country like Nepal with such a distinct and rich and diverse cultural heritage. Yes, your grandmother, your parents might not understand social media, but they know things worth knowing. I would say that to the youth. Give us some grace, as my students say, and listen to the old people, because they won't be here forever.
Your 2 cents for young filmmakers and storytellers.
I learned a lot from the French director Jacques Malatat. I think he is a documentary filmmaker, but he is a sort of also like a sort of anthropologist, because his favorite topic is just about human history, is about these minorities, living conditions around the world. So I learned a lot from him. Jacques Malatat is a great documentary filmmaker in France. He's even rewarded the National Order, of the Knight of the National Order. So I think the key of the success is he really respects the people. I think this is very important. I can give you an anecdote. In one of the shooting, a girl in the second episode had a fight with her father because maybe she made some mistakes in her homework, and her father blamed her, and then the little girl, she got a temper. She elbowed her father, and then in the final version, after that, the picture moved to another scene. It's like it's finished. But my team told me that actually what happened that day is that the fight didn't calm down after that, even got bigger. And the girl, she ran away, and she hid herself in a corner of that village. And my team told us that actually their camera wasn't turned off. They recorded everything here. And our Chinese team said to ourselves that this might be a very good dramatic scene, that if we showed it out, it could be fantastic. It can increase the ratings. But finally, the director, he decided to cut it because he thinks that this kind of scene, if it is shown on the great public, maybe one day it will hurt this little girl. So I'm really very touched. I'm really very touched by his this kind of humbleness and respect for people. If you want to, make a good movie, you must learn first to respect all the people with whom you work.
Wow, that's a beautiful, beautiful sharing that you just did. Coming to this part now, here I get to ask you a few quick questions, right? So I'm going to throw you like common questions, just fun. And I mean, like short answers, just first thing in your mind, you just throw it back to me, right? Shall we start? All right? Okay, a lovely one. One word for Kathmandu.
Amazing.
Diverse. No, that's a bad word. It's a bad word. Charmant in French, charming, but it's better in French. It's better in French.
Charmant. Like the sound, the timbre of that. Wow.
Charmant.
All right, charmant. I learned.
Ça là, les petits bâtiments en bois, little buildings, wooden buildings.
Oh wow.
But that's many words. Academics, we can't.
You can listen to as many attributes as you send my way. Coffee or tea while working?
Coffee.
Coffee. Tea. Doodh wali chai.
Doodh wali chai. Wow, lovely.
It's
Have you
strange.
tried one? Have you tried one?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I make it at home all the
Really?
time. Yeah.
How about you? Tried Nepali tea?
Not yet.
A film you could watch over and over.
A French filmmaker, Chris Marker, called Sans Soleil, Sunless, which is a sort of a documentary. But also Werner Herzog, who's a great filmmaker, very well known, I'm sure. Many people have heard of him, but he's not a Hollywood style, but Aguirre, Wrath of God. That's a very powerful film. I haven't seen it in a while. But also, I'm trying to think. I don't watch a lot of Hollywood films multiple times. I watch a lot of series multiple times.
Right.
In French, it's Adieu ma concubine. Adieu means farewell my concubine.
My concubine. Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Actually, I did. There's a film called Hiroshima Mon Amour by a French director. It's because of you that I got the Francophone on my mind. That is a really gorgeous film. Or a Japanese film. I love the work of Shohei Imamura. He made a film called Vengeance is Mine. That one, I haven't seen it in a long time because it's not an easy distribution, but I would watch that multiple times.
I'll make sure I take note of all these. Morning person or a night owl?
I'm a morning person nowadays. If you have to shift, because if you're doing field work, you're at the whim of the people that you're living with, and I will stay up if I have to, but my normal rhythm is to be in bed early and get up at 4 or 5, so morning.
Does your work allow this privilege to you every
It
time?
does, especially now that I am in the stage of life where I don't have to worry about waking anybody else up. Yes.
Right. How about you, Mr.
I'm a night person because of my job. I don't have the choice. Yeah, because actually I work in news, and with the time lag with all these countries which speak French. Every day I had to stay till very night to monitor what is happening in the world.
So, favorite storytelling tool: a camera, pen, or voice?
Well, I mean, if you have the attention of people, a voice. But I would say editing is the best. That's where films, they say films are written multiple times. The screenwriter writes it once, the director is writing it again, but the final say is the editor. So I would say, any kind of a good editing program, and my favorite was cutting by hand, but that's gone, and that's fine. That way I don't have to worry about spilling coffee on stuff.
For me, camera. Because I work on TV, and I am really sure that maybe TV will disappear one day, but a camera will never.
A city that feels like home. Both of you travel intensively, right? So a city that feels like home.
Los Angeles, California, because it has the world. It just sort of I mean, that's what makes, that's the strength of America. The real strength, all the people, the immigrants that make it so. But Los Angeles is just a very expansive city. Nobody thinks it's beautiful, and it loves every other city. We're always saying, like, oh, when I lived in San Francisco for the .com years, I did my work there. When I was leaving, people were like, why are you leaving? Where are you going? Los Angeles. They made these faces, and I was like, well, I'm going to... And then when I arrived, I got in the cab at Los Angeles Airport, and I was telling the cab driver, oh, I'm moving here. Oh, where are you coming from? San Francisco. And he looks in the rear view and looks at me and says, oh, that's a beautiful little town. We have an expansive heart for all the other cities in the world, and that's why I love it.
For me, maybe Paris. Because I spent maybe a very precious part of my life there from 2008 into 2011, and this is really a lapse of my life which is very precious. Like the American writer Hemingway said that you will never forget Paris because it's a moving feast. Paris is a moving feast. And every time now when I travel to Paris for professional purpose, as soon as I got down get off the airplane, it's really felt like home, because everything to me is that familiar. I spent a part important of my youth there.
Right. Just a curiosity, Mr. Batao. I mean, no judgments here. How did French happen to you? Because I don't recall meeting a Chinese who speaks French and speaks French better than the French themselves.
Yeah,
so
maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm sort of predestined to this language and this culture. When I was in a college, middle school, high school students, and then we got to choose our major in college. I like learning foreign language, and I'm very interested in all these exotic things in foreign countries. So because you know that in China everyone learns English since a very young age, but if I continue to learn English, I think that's not cool. So I told me
that's a smart move.
Yeah, why not another language? And then this language is maybe for a boy of 18 years old. He sounds really sort of romantic or exotic. Oh. So I picked it just by accident like this, and now it becomes my whole life, love.
Right. Let me come to one of my favorite questions. Silence in cinema or music?
You gotta have a reason for both. One thing I will say is silence is never silence in the cinema. It's never nothing. You need something to emphasize that it's silent. Some different, the cliche is the door squeak or something. But you need a small sound to show the larger silence. Music can be great, but it's a great deadener. And ethnographic film especially, it's what that Mark said, religion is the opium of the people, and I tell my students music is the opium of a bad cut. If you have a good cut, it can work in silence. But what could be more, some of the films in the festival, particularly the national shorts, I was so impressed by how they use song as a story element. Because songs are a lot of the films are celebrating village culture, family life, and there are appropriate songs. So there is nothing, I'm a Generation X of the Walkman, and the greatest thing about the Walkman is not that you can shut your parents from talking to you, it is more that you're in a movie, right? It's like Bollywood, and you're dancing because you have your own soundtrack. So there's no question about the power of music. So I would have to say in that battle, music wins. But if it's a matter of educating my students, you have to have a reason for the music, and it should be a motivated music, not just a cliche music.
Sometimes silence is powerful. They're very, very powerful. I remember one of my favorite scenes in cinema is a film from Jia Zhangke, Chinese director Jia Zhangke, which means the title is The Mountains May Depart or Apart, the English name. And I still remember that there is a scene in which the main character, the lady, and his father were in a railway station, and the girl she went to a shop to buy something to her father, who was sitting on a bench, on a long bench. And when the girl got back, he found that her dad is already passed away. And at that moment, it was a total silence, and it was very powerful. Not a single word, just a picture, still, and the spectator can feel the strong shock and sadness.
Momos or samosas?
Well, we're in Nepal. I better say momos.
Momos, even if I haven't had the chance to test it.
But I make a good samosa.
It's a protocol that you do
of
try
course,
momos.
yeah, I will try.
As long as we can eat it with our hands, because it's too hard with chopsticks.
Oh, yes. You're free to use chopsticks, forks, hands, right? But it's a protocol.
I'll test it this evening.
Right. Thank you so much. It was lovely.
Thank you so much,
Shivani.
Right. It's such a pleasure.
Indeed. Thank you so much for coming over and sharing your
insights.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Today we have glimpsed the world through many lenses, from the bustling studios and the experiences that are coming from CGTN to ethnographic narratives. Stories are more than content. They're bridges, they connect continents, cultures and hearts. And to our audiences, the stories we tell and the stories we carry are what keep us human. And Creative Forum is where we talk about the humanness through arts and talks and conversations based on arts. This is Shivani Thapa-Bosnet signing off until next time. Goodbye.
Human beings have made drastic progress in the sector of handicrafts with the development of civilization from the Stone Age until the 21st century. These include and are not limited to works of art, sculptures, wood and metal crafts. These handicrafts have also found religious, historic, cultural and archaeological acceptance and significance. Religious texts have identified the attraction of human settlements in the mountainous region of Nepal, which has always remained an independent sovereign nation. Ramapithecus human remains found in Butwal of West Nepal clarifies that human settlement had begun in Nepal more than 10 million years ago. We find historic references of works of handicrafts made by those living in this region. Such Nepali handicrafts are artistic and useful, therefore also successful in gaining international appreciation. Instead of the modern handicrafts, Nepal is well introduced in the international community by its traditional and historic works of art and craft. Millions of tourists who visit Nepal every year observe, study and relish the traditional handicrafts available at religious shrines. The high-quality woods brought from local forests are seasoned before being carved. Nepali woodcrafts are not only popular inside the country, but also have a demand abroad and therefore are exported. In addition to sculptures of gods and goddesses, artistic doors and windows, among other furniture, are made from wood in Nepal. Best examples of Nepali woodcraft can be taken as the artistic carvings at palaces, temples and other religious shrines in Kathmandu, Lalitpur and Bhaktapur. The 6th century woodcraft present at Rudravarna Mahavihar in Okubahal of Lalitpur is considered the oldest. Nepali woodcraft continues to thrive with the creativity, dedication and effort of trained artists. Artist Punyaraj Tuladhar, popular around the world, shares his experience. Lalitpur is popular around the world for its metal craft in Nepal. Works of metal craft produced here had a great demand in countries including Bhutan, Japan, China and European nations. Metal statues are developed using 2 methods in Nepal: repose art and lost wax process, both widely popular around the world. Repose art is a metalworking technique in which a malleable metal, silver, copper and brass among others, is shaped by hammering from the reverse side to create a design in low relief. Small sheets of metal are cut based on required measurement to form different organs of statues before being welded together. Designs and patterns are then carved into the structure. Gold is plated in some works such as metalcraft as well. Such metal sheets are also used in the roof of temples and other religious shrines. Lost wax process is the technique by which a metal sculpture, often silver, gold, brass or bronze, is cast from an original sculpture of wax made of honeycomb. Molten metal is poured into a mold that has been created by means of a wax model. Once the mold is made, the wax model is melted and drained away. In the second phase, the metal sculpture is cleaned with different machines or equipment. After filling of the sculpture, it is then plated with gold or painted with colors based on the requirements. Most of such sculptures are found in Buddhist and Hindu religious shrines. Globally recognized senior artist Krodh Kala Shiromani Kalu Kumale shares his experience. Existing sculptures present in Nepal and at museums abroad prove that the works of sculptures have a long history in the country. Sculptures made using the lost wax process have a huge demand in China and other countries and continue to be exported. Okubahal, Nagbahal, Haugal and Tangal, among other places, are the pioneers in metal craft. Likewise, metal crafts of Tansen in Palpa, Chainpur and Bhojpur are also popular around the world. Silver filigree art of Nepal is internationally recognized. The genre, which began during the Lichvi era and grew in the Malla era, is considered quality work of art of Nepal. Attractive shapes are made from metals including silver, and precious stones are then used to create artistic objects. It is believed that works of filigree art were the first ones to be purchased by tourists. Artists speak of a huge demand of quality Nepali filigree art in the international market. Senior artist Dilliraj Shakya shares his experience. Stone art is taken as a significant category of handicrafts. Equipment including hammers is used in development of beautiful sculptures. This form of art had begun with the development of different kinds of weapons. They are strong and durable and therefore remain intact. Most of the sculptures of gods and goddesses are made from stones. Likewise, sculptures of animals, stone taps, temples, religious symbols and goods used in daily lives are also made from stone. Most of such sculptures are made from the stones found in local hills, including Hattiban, Machegao, Tika Bhairav, Godavari and Kharpa, among others. Senior artist Dharmaraj Shakya says that Nepal's stone art has a unique identity. Of the stone sculptures found so far, a sculpture of King Jaya Varma found in Harigao and currently conserved at National Museum in Chhaoni is considered to be the oldest historic sculpture. Likewise, sculptures in Changu installed by King Mandev, another found in Tilganga near Pashupati, a sculpture of Vishnu Vikrant in Lazimpat, and the one at Budhanilkantha are also considered historic. Sculpture of Birupaksha Kirateshwar Mahadev at Pashupati Aryaghat, Vishwaroop at Changu, Garud Sayan Vishnu sculpture, Palanchuk Bhagwati, Gazalakshmi of Lalitpur, Chashal Hiti and Krishna Mandir of Patan, among others, are considered the best stone sculptures of Nepal. Terracotta sculptures and masks, among other artworks, are made from clay. Terracotta works are thought to have been in existence in Nepal from a long time. According to historians and archaeologists, terracotta works found during a recent excavation administered by the Department of Archaeology were from the 2nd century BC. In recent practices, terracotta works are made before the development of metal sculptures. Different goods used in daily life are made from terracotta works. In addition to the sculptures of religious figures, products such as cups and plates, among other utensils, are also made from terracotta technique, while they are sold in domestic and foreign markets as well. Artists who have been working with terracotta for ages live in Thimi of Bhaktapur, Dang and Kapilvastu. Popular artist Gopal Kalapremi says the creativity and dedication of Nepali artists has been uplifting terracotta works in and outside of Nepal. Pauba art is made in the Kathmandu Valley and is considered as a traditional art form. This form of art is known as Thanga in Tibet. In Tibetan language, documentation and archives of gods and goddesses is called Thanku or Thanga. In this form of art, color from natural minerals is used to paint the pictures of religious figures on cloth. The large figure of main god and goddesses is placed at the center, while remaining gods and goddesses are placed in relatively smaller figures at the other parts. The background of this form of art includes different kinds of flowers, clouds, trees, and birds and animals. An artwork of Ratnasambhav Buddha conserved at the County Museum in Los Angeles of the United States of America is considered to be the oldest Paubha art, which was developed in the 13th century. The Amitabha Buddha art of the 13th century, also at the County Museum alongside Vishnu Mandala of 1420, and the 19th century's Sahas Bhujalokeshwar saved at the National Museum in Chhaoni, are considered to be Nepal's best Paubha artworks. The demand of Paubha artworks is increasing in Nepal and the foreign market. Popular and senior artist Lok Chitrakar says continuous efforts of talented artists has helped increase the popularity of Nepali Paubha art. Nepali handicrafts have established a significant position in the international community for their traditional, religious, social, historic and archaeological richness. Nepal Academy of Fine Arts has been conducting significant tasks in regards to conservation, promotion and development of Nepali handicrafts. Active involvement of experienced, skilled and talented artists, along with their devotion and sacrifices, have been rejuvenating Nepali handicrafts and helping establish a unique and superior identity of Nepal in the international community.
Annapurna Circuit Trek features in world's 10 best destinations and adventures. The trekking circuit is the choice of many trekkers as it offers both adventure along with mesmerizing view of mountain ranges. Arguably the best trekking circuit in the world, travelers get up close with dozens of mountains including the Annapurna, Dhaulagiri, Nilgiri. Annapurna Circuit ideally is a 14-day trek. The circuit passes through Lamjung, Manang, Mustang and Myagdi district, including Thorangla Pass as the highest point. Places including Thampus, Ghandruk and Poon Hill are part of this trekking circuit. The revered Muktinath shrine is also part of the circuit. Only foreigners were seen in this circuit few years back, but now domestic tourists are also flocking the area. If you are looking for a lifetime trekking experience, then pack your bags for Annapurna trekking circuit. Mardi Base Camp Trek, also part of the Annapurna circuit, is another alternative route for trekkers who can't afford time. Trekkers can be up close with mountains including the Annapurna Range, Dhaulagiri, Machapuchre and Manasalu in this circuit. This 7-day circuit is attracting many trekkers for obvious reasons.
A powerful magnitude 7.1 earthquake struck southwest Japan, damaging infrastructure, disrupting transport, and prompting evacuation orders for more than 150 residents. The earthquake struck inland on Kyushu Island at 4:27 p.m. local time with a shallow depth of 10 kilometers, increasing the risk of severe ground shaking. Authorities briefly issued a tsunami warning, which was lifted within an hour. Emergency responders launched rescue operations after the second floor of a shopping complex in Kashima town collapsed, leaving numerous people trapped. Local media also reported an explosion at the Aeon Mall in Kumamoto, where emergency services said several people were believed to be trapped. Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi said authorities were still assessing the full extent of the disaster but confirmed that multiple people had been injured. She said Japan's self-defense forces, fire departments, Coast Guard and other emergency personnel had been mobilized to conduct rescue operation and assess damage. Japan's meteorological agency warned residents to prepare for strong aftershocks due to the earthquake's shallow epicenter. The International Atomic Energy Agency said the Sendai nuclear power plant, located approximately 100 kilometers from the epicenter, sustained no damage and continues to operate safely. Japan lies along the seismically active Pacific Ring of Fire and experiences roughly 1,500 earthquakes each year, making it one of the world's most earthquake-prone countries.
Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky is due to hold important talks with US President Donald Trump at the White House, where he is hoping to firm up commitments to bolstering Kiev's anti-ballistic missile defenses. Zelensky has arrived in the US at a significant stage in Russia's full-scale war in Ukraine, with Moscow's mayor saying the capital was targeted by 390 drones in a matter of hours overnight. The Ukrainian leader is expected to press Trump over support he gave earlier this month for Kiev to be given a license to produce Patriot interceptor missiles. Russia has escalated deadly ballistic missile attacks on Ukraine's capital recently, and Zelensky has said interceptors are urgently needed. Patriot missiles have been at the top of Zelensky's wish list for some time, but after the wars in Ukraine and the Middle East, these US air defense interceptors are in very short supply. After he speaks with Zelensky, Trump will have another important meeting with Israel's Benjamin Netanyahu. It is the first time the two will meet in person since the war on Iran started in late February. Zelensky and Netanyahu are in Washington to attend the funeral of Senator Lindsey Graham, who died this month aged 71. The Ukraine war appeared to coincide with the US-Israel war with Iran at the weekend, when Ukrainian forces targeted an Iranian cargo ship in the Caspian Sea. Kiev has described Iran as a direct accomplice to Russian aggression against Ukraine, and Zelensky had said Ukrainian intelligence has evidence that Russia has shared satellite imagery with Tehran, enabling Iran to attack US military facilities and Gulf states. Firefighters in southwest France are battling a major wildfire in the Gironde region, with authorities warning that extreme heat and dry conditions are making efforts to contain the blaze increasingly difficult. A fire service spokesperson described the operation as a battle like David against Goliath, as crews work to control the flames, which have burnt more than 42,000 hectares of land and destroyed around 240 homes. The wildfire is currently about 9 miles from the outskirts of Bordeaux, but officials say the city is not under immediate threat. Firefighters reported a relatively stable night west of the city, although the blaze remains uncontrolled. Residents have described the impact of the fire, with one Bordeaux resident comparing the conditions to Pompeii and saying the smoke made it difficult to breathe. Officials expect temperatures in southwest France to rise to 39 degrees Celsius with no significant rainfall forecast until at least Friday, raising concerns that the dry conditions could worsen the situation. Meanwhile, firefighters in Spain are also battling major wildfires as the country prepares for another period of extreme heat. Several regions, including areas around Madrid, have reported wildfires, with emergency teams working to contain the spread amid rising temperatures and dry vegetation. The latest wave of fires across France and Spain highlights the growing risk posed by heat waves and prolonged drought conditions across southern Europe. India's government on Tuesday proposed longer jail terms and heftier fines for examination paper leaks, seeking to restore confidence after youth-led protest focused on education reforms that rocked the country. Under the proposed legal change submitted to Parliament, the maximum prison term for those involved in paper leaks would be doubled to 10 years, while fines could exceed $1 million and court proceedings would be fast-tracked.
The legislative push follows weeks of protest over exam paper leaks and other irregularities, which culminated in the resignation of Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan last week. The protest, spearheaded by the online Cockroach Janata Party CJP movement, drew massive support from young students across the country and presented a major challenge to Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government. The proposed amendments reaffirmed the government's deep commitment to safeguard the welfare of the students and the youth of the country, according to a senior minister. The parliament reconvened last week for its monsoon session, with the first few days repeatedly disrupted by opposition lawmakers seeking accountability over a police crackdown on the student-led protests. DOS Foundation is helping survivors of domestic abuse remove unwanted tattoos that were used as tools of control and intimidation by abusive partners. Among those receiving treatment is 53-year-old Jo, who is undergoing laser removal to erase more than 250 tattoos that her former abusive partner marked across her body and face. The tattoos were placed in areas where he believed another man had touched her, leaving permanent reminders of the abuse she endured. She is one of hundreds of survivors supported by Spite Fund Tattoo or Tattoo Regret, a Rotterdam-based foundation that provides free laser tattoo removal services to victims of abuse, exploitation, and coercive relationships. The organization uses specialized laser treatments to gradually remove the unwanted markings, helping survivors regain confidence and move forward from the traumatic experiences. Each treatment can require multiple sessions depending on the size, color, and the depth of the tattoos. Spite Fund Tattoo has assisted hundreds of people across the Netherlands and is preparing to expand its work internationally, aiming to provide support to more survivors seeking to remove physical reminders of abuse. China has launched a Lijian-1 Y-15 carrier rocket, sending 5 satellites into space, with 2 of them equipped with advanced AI large models in a pioneering effort to expand AI application to space. The Jitian Star A04 is equipped with embodied intelligent models developed by Zhejiang Lab, a research institution based in Hangzhou, East China's Zhejiang province. The model enables the satellite to manage itself as it can autonomously complete multiple in-orbit tasks, such as monitoring the satellite status, as well as planning and executing onboard missions for a single satellite or satellite cluster. The Xiguang 203 satellite carries 3 AI meteorological models, which can improve efficiency and precision of forecast for sudden weather events like short-duration torrential rains and strong winds. It typically takes conventional meteorological satellites 90 minutes to transmit weather data to ground stations after recording it. The ground team also need time to parse and correct data before releasing the forecasts, resulting in slow data refresh rates. The workflow is efficient enough for conventional weather services, but falls short of the demand to issue timely forecasts for abrupt weather events. The 2 satellites are part of the 3-body computing constellation project, which is initiated by the Zhejiang Lab and aims to send AI into space to achieve in-orbit data processing. According to the plan, the constellation will reach a scale of 100 satellites by 2027. 4 high-wire artists performed a final dress rehearsal above Jerusalem's Hinnom Valley ahead of the opening of the 65th Israel Festival, staging a symbolic aerial performance that pays tribute to one of the event's most iconic moments. The artists crossed wires suspended high above the valley along the seam between East and West Jerusalem, recreating French high-wire artist Philippe Petit's celebrated 1987 tightrope walk, which opened that year's Israel Festival and remains one of the festival's defining performances. The rehearsal drew spectators as the performers carefully navigated the elevated wires against the backdrop of Jerusalem's historic landscape. The high-wire act is expected to serve as the centerpiece of the festival's opening ceremony, highlighting the festival's tradition of combining large-scale artistic performances with the city's cultural and historical setting. Now in its 65th edition, the Israel Festival is one of the country's leading arts events, featuring a diverse program of music, theater, dance, and multidisciplinary performances by Israeli and international artists. A resident of Edamit in Turkey's Balıkesir province has transformed a 2-decade passion for collecting she shells into a successful handmade craft business, producing decorative items created entirely from shells gathered along the coastline. Belgin Balalan has spent the past 20 years collecting she shells from the shore, sorting them by size and type before turning them into handcrafted products including picture frames, flower pots, door ornaments, and decorative wall panels. Using only naturally collected she shells, Balalan creates one-of-a-kind decorative pieces that highlight the beauty of marine materials through traditional craftsmanship. What began as a childhood hobby has become her full-time profession and primary source of income, allowing her to build a business around her handmade creations. Balalan said she now hopes to organize an exhibition to showcase her she shell artwork and introduce her creations to a broader audience. The UNESCO World Heritage Committee has approved the boundary modification of the migratory bird sanctuaries along the coast of Yellow Sea, Bohai Gulf of China, adding the Changshan Archipelago in northeastern China's Liaoning province to the World Heritage List. The decision was made during the 48th session of the UNESCO World Heritage Committee in Busan, marking the latest expansion of the natural heritage site after an earlier extension approved in 2024. Chinese authorities said the move strengthens the protection and overall integrity of the migratory bird sanctuary network. Located in Dalian, the Changshan Archipelago lies along the East Asian Australasian Flyway, one of the world's major migratory routes. The island group serves as a crucial stopover site for millions of migratory birds crossing the Bohai Sea, providing essential feeding and resting areas during their long-distance journeys. The newly added area covers more than 4,900 hectares and contains rich marine and coastal ecosystems with more than 140 bird species recorded in the region. Officials said the inclusion will enhance conservation efforts for key habitats and migratory bird populations. Thousands of devotees, pilgrims, and visitors gathered in Kataragama to witness the sacred fire walking ritual, one of the most anticipated and spiritually significant events associated with the annual Kataragama Isala festival. Held in the early hours of the morning following the Grand Isala Perahera, the ceremony once again showcased an enduring tradition that has been passed down through generations, symbolizing unwavering faith, devotion, and the fulfillment of vows made to the deity Kataragama. Although the fire walking ceremony is not officially part of the Kataragama Devalaya's formal religious rituals, it has long become an integral feature of the Isala festival celebrations. Every year, the ceremony is held in front of the Devalaya at the conclusion of the Isala Perahera, attracting thousands of devotees from across Sri Lanka, as well as international visitors eager to witness one of the country's most extraordinary religious traditions. Participants spend months preparing for the ritual through strict spiritual discipline. Many abstain from consuming meat, observe a vegetarian diet, maintain ritual purity, and dedicate themselves to prayer and religious observances. According to historical records, the first fire walking ceremony associated with the Kataragama Devalaya was held in 1948. Since then, the ritual has become one of the defining highlights of the annual Isala festival, reflecting Sri Lanka's rich spiritual heritage and centuries-old religious traditions. More than a spectacular cultural event, the Kataragama fire walking ritual remains a living expression of Sri Lanka's spiritual traditions. It continues to inspire generations of devotees and serves as a powerful reminder of the enduring bond between faith, sacrifice, and sacred heritage of Kataragama. Buddhists gathered for almsgiving in front of Wat Phra Mahatat Varamahavihan in Nakhon Si, Thammarat, marking the temple's newly announced status as Thailand's latest UNESCO World Heritage Site. Nearly 1,000 Nora performers took to the streets in celebration, showcasing 12 classical Nora movement sequences in a ceremonial offering to the temple's sacred Jedi. Nora, a form of dance drama native to southern Thailand and recognized by UNESCO as an intangible cultural heritage of humanity, is one of the region's most distinctive cultural traditions. The mass performance stood as a powerful expression of community faith and collective pride. UNESCO's World Heritage Committee voted unanimously to inscribe Wat Phra Mahatat War Mahavihan during the 48th session of the World Heritage Committee held at the Busan Exhibition and Convention Center in South Korea on 25 July. The temple was designated under criteria 2nd and 6, recognizing its outstanding influence on cultural exchange across the region and its deep association with living traditions and belief, making it Thailand's 6th Cultural World Heritage Site, its 9th World Heritage Site overall, and the first ever located in southern Thailand. Worshippers from across Thailand and abroad, including foreign visitors, joined monks from Wat Phra Mahatat and at least 5 surrounding temples in a merit-making ceremony offering rice and dried goods to 99 monks. The inscription is the result of more than 14 years of research, advocacy, and cross-sector collaboration. Beyond cultural preservation, the inscription is widely expected to boost heritage tourism in southern Thailand, generating economic benefits for the local community and contributing to the country's broader sustainable development.
Hello and welcome to The Perspective on NTV World. I'm Sabika Shrestha, your host for the program. From major headlines to the issues behind them, we gather week's top stories and explore how they are shaping the path forward. This episode includes Nepal's changing provincial political landscape as new alliances reshape governments across the 7 provinces, the formation of a new government in Karnali following the Chief Minister's resignation and the Nepali Congress exit from the Lumbini government. We also bring you the government's overhaul of the Public Procurement Act, resident doctors' nationwide protest for better working conditions, Prime Minister Balin Shah's meeting with export-oriented industries to boost trade, the latest update on Nepal's foreign trade and widening trade deficit, and a special report on the country's historic milestone of exports crossing Rs 400 billion for the first time. Nepal's provincial politics is entering a new phase as shifting alliances trigger government reformation talks across all 7 provinces. The CPN-UML and Nepali Communist Party have agreed on a new power-sharing arrangement, while the Nepali Congress explores fresh partnerships to retain influence at the provincial level. Let's take a look.
Nepal's provincial governments are heading for a major political reshuffle as the country's 2 largest communist forces and the Nepali Congress begin separate negotiations to form new alliances at the provincial level. The CPN-UML and the Nepali Communist Party, led by coordinator Pushpa Kamal Dahal, have signed a written agreement to cooperate in provincial assemblies and form governments together. Under the agreement, the UML will lead provincial governments in Koshi, Bagmati and Lumbini, while the Nepali Communist Party will take leadership in Karnali and Sudar Pashchim provinces. However, the 2 parties do not have enough seats to form governments alone in several provinces. In Bagmati, Madhesh, Gandaki, Lumbini and Sudar Pashchim, they will need support from smaller parties to secure a majority. The UML says it is working to bring smaller political groups into the coalition where required.
लोकतन्त्रमाथि नै अहिले एउटा चुनौती खडा भएको बेला छ। संघीय ढाँचामाथि, संघीयतामाथि नै प्रश्न उठेको, संविधानमाथि नै प्रश्न उठेको स्थितिभित्र हिजो संविधान निर्माण गर्ने दलहरू कम्तीमा पनि नेपाली कांग्रेस, नेकपा एमाले र नेकपा हिजोको माओवादी आजको नेकपा चाहिँ को बीचमा सहकार्य गरेर जाउँ त हाम्रो दोस्रो प्रस्ताव थियो। नेपाली कांग्रेसले त्यो प्रस्तावलाई पनि स्वीकार नगरिसकेपछि त्यो पृष्ठभूमिमा यो निर्णय भएको हो।
Meanwhile, the Nepali Congress, Nepal's largest party in terms of provincial assembly representation in 5 provinces, is also holding discussions to form alternative alliances. The Congress currently leads governments in Madhesh, Bagmati, Gandaki and Sudar Pashchim provinces. Party leaders say they are consulting with smaller parties while maintaining that a strong opposition is necessary in a democratic system.
प्रदेशमा हामी कतै पहिलो पार्टी छौं, कतै चाहिँ दोस्रो पार्टी छौं, कतै तेस्रो पार्टी छौं। सरकारमा जाने, नेतृत्व गर्ने अथवा विपक्षमा बस्ने हैसियत हाम्रो सबै खालको हैसियत छ प्रदेश सभामा। केन्द्रको जस्तो सरकारमा हामी जानै नसक्ने खालको हैसियत हाम्रो प्रदेशमा छैन। त्यसैले हामी कोसिस गर्छौं सरकारको नेतृत्वमा जाने कोसिस गर्छौं, नेतृत्व गर्ने अथवा सरकारमा सहभागी हुने कोसिस गर्छौं। अब यो दुईटै कुरा चाहिँ हामी सफल भएन भने हामी विपक्षमा बस्छौं।
Previously, 6 of Nepal's 7 provincial governments were formed through a coalition between the Nepali Congress and the CPN-UML. Madhesh province had a different arrangement with participation from the Nepal Communist Party and other regional parties. The latest realignment marks another major shift in Nepal's coalition politics as parties negotiate new power-sharing arrangements across the country's provincial governments.
The process of forming a new government in Nepal's Karnali province has officially begun after the provincial chief invited lawmakers to stake their claim for the post of chief minister on Tuesday. The move follows the resignation of Chief Minister Yamlal Karil, whose resignation was accepted after he stepped down in the face of a no-confidence motion in the Provincial Assembly. Under Article 168(2) of Nepal's constitution, a provincial lawmaker who can demonstrate majority support with backing from 2 or more parties is eligible to form the new government. The no-confidence motion was jointly registered by members of the Nepali Congress and the Nepali Communist Party, reflecting shifting political alliances in the province. The latest developments come as a new power-sharing agreement between the CPN-UML and the Nepal Communist Party has reshaped political equations across Nepal's provincial governments. Nepali Congress ministers are set to resign from the Lumbini province government on Monday following a shift in Nepal's ruling alliance at the federal level. 5 Congress ministers are expected to submit their resignations together, saying it is no longer politically appropriate for the party to remain in the provincial coalition after the change in power equations. The resignations were delayed by 1 day because of a public holiday and Chief Minister Chetnarayan Acharya's officials' engagements outside the provincial capital. The Lumbini provincial government was formed in August 2024 under the leadership of the CPN-UML through a coalition with the Nepali Congress. The move is expected to pave the way for a new coalition in Lumbini, mirroring political realignments taking place across Nepal's provinces. In this context, we are now joined virtually by Dr. Sohan Shah, a Nepali academic and policy expert from Madhesh province, for more insights. Welcome to The Perspective, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So what do the latest provincial government reshuffles mean for political stability and governance in provinces?
Sabikaji, there are 2 things that we should consider. First, in the provincial government, no political party has a majority. So once you don't have a majority, it's always the chances of the coalition government. And once the coalition government's compulsion is there in the provinces, there are most likely the situation of reshuffling of the government time and again. Federal political party changing the alliances also leads to the changing the alliances in the province, and which is really unfortunate.
So how are these new political alliances likely to affect policy continuity, development projects and public service delivery at the provincial level?
Political alliances and the government changing should not be a big problem if they can give the stability in the governance. But unfortunately, we don't see that is happening in the provinces. Not only in all 7 provinces, we see there are a serious challenge in these terms of the political alliances changing frequently. But in a democracy, it is alliances changes. But the unfortunate thing is that we don't have the differentiator in the political parties. Take, for example, first political party in the province assembly and the second political party in the province assembly. In the Westminster parliamentary model, they should be in an opposition. But it only happens in Nepal that first party and second party collude to make the government. So sometimes I joke that the first political party, like for example, A political party and the B political party, which is the second political party in the assembly, the difference between them is as much as the difference between Coke and Pepsi. So for example, suppose the Nepali Congress is the largest party and the UML is the second largest party, forming the coalition between the first party and the second party. Once they go to the government, you will find the difference only as much as the difference between the Coke and the Pepsi. So that is the unfortunate thing that is happening.
So do frequent changes in provincial governments strengthen coalition politics, or do they weaken Nepal's federal system? As you have just mentioned that this kind of coalition is kind of uneven practice happening in Nepal. What do you think?
Yes, it's a good question actually, because most of the provinces, the government changes is not because of the provincial assembly's leader. Most of the frequent changes that we see in the provinces is because of the federal political parties have the larger say over the provincial assemblies in the provinces. So it's like controlling from the Kathmandu the province assembly, and because of this we don't see the policy, we don't see the policy predictability. We don't see the stability, we don't see the governance stability and frequent changes in the government. So I think we have to see in the context and sometimes, and the way the Kathmandu, the political party, the head of the political parties in Kathmandu, dictating the terms with the provincial assemblies, I think they are not strengthening the federal system, but I think they are weakening the day by day the federal system. And probably that is why the voices of questioning the federal system is in a very prominent among the people.
Mr. Shah, with new governments taking shape across the provinces, what should be the top priorities to ensure governance is not disrupted?
The only problem that happens is that the priorities of the government is to ensure there is a policy predictability, there is a policy stability, and then a governance stability. So once the governance stability takes place, whosoever comes in the coalition government, it should not make any difference. And the system of the day-to-day governance will go without any problem. But what happens is that due to the political parties in provinces, we have seen the series of governance instability, and this governance instability leads to the policy failures of the policies and programs that government wanted to implement, and they have the annual programs, they have the 5-year plan, so these programs get affected. So I think that even if you form a coalition, make sure that you find a common minimum program where the laws, our constitution, the annual programs of the government is implemented thoroughly. But when you do the coalition without provisioning this kind of things, and then you make it up your own ideas after when you join the government, it brings a confusion in the governance.
So, do you believe these new power sharing arrangements will bring long-term stability, or are further political realignments likely in the coming months? What do you think?
Well, the damage has already been done. In 5 years, at least in Madhya province or in other provinces also, we have seen almost a series of chief ministers. And now The provincial assembly election is waiting to be, after 1 year, we will have the provincial assembly elections sometime. So I think the coalition government will not bring the likely political scenario that we imagine for the development, for the policy predictability, for the governance stability. But we hope that after the Gen Z movement, political parties, older political parties, must have learned their lessons of the political, how the peoples are disenchanted with the kind of this coalition government and frequent changes of the governance. So I think now if they will form the government, we just hope that they will learn the lesson.
Thank you for your time and insights, sir. That was Dr. Sohan Saha explicating us more about the situation. Now, as new alliances reshape provincial politics, the government is rolling out major procurement reforms aimed at improving project implementation. Nepal government has overhauled its Public Procurement Act, banning bids more than 30% below estimated cost to curb low-price contracts that often lead to delayed or abandoned projects. The revised law introduces stricter tender rules, faster approval processes, and greater accountability for contractors to ensure timely completion of infrastructure projects. Here's a report. The Nepal government has amended the Public Procurement Act, introducing major changes to the contract awarding system. Under the new provision, bidders will no longer be allowed to submit bids that are more than 30% below the estimated cost. The government brought this measure to prevent the practice of securing contracts at unrealistically low prices and leaving projects incomplete. Previously, contractors often won bids by offering prices 40 to 50% lower than estimates, but many failed to complete the work on time, leaving projects stalled for years. The amended act also requires that a project's budget must be secured and the construction site must be prepared before issuing a tender. Similarly, the performance security required from contractors has been reduced and limited to 5%. The process for approving variation orders has also been simplified. Authority to approve variations will now be delegated to officials at different levels based on the percentage of the variation, with the government expecting faster decision-making and fewer delays.
पुँजीगत खर्च धेरै गर्न सकिरहेको छैन। यसमा थुप्रै कारणहरू अरु पनि हुन सक्छन्, तर सार्वजनिक खरिदसँग जोडिएका र हाम्रो सार्वजनिक खरिद ऐनसँग जोडिएका कतिपय विषय पनि यसमा जोडिन्छ। त्यसो हुँदाखेरि अब यो ऐनमा भएका कतिपय व्यवस्थाले गर्दाखेरि सार्वजनिक निकायबाट गरिने पुँजीगत खर्चमा पक्कै पनि यो संशोधनले गरेका व्यवस्थाबाट चाहिँ त्यो पुँजीगत खर्चको गुणस्तर र त्यसको वृद्धि गर्नलाई यो संशोधनमा भएका व्यवस्थाले पक्कै पनि महत्त्वपूर्ण योगदान पुर्याउँछ।
Companies participating in joint ventures will now have equal responsibility for project implementation. Previously, one company could use its qualification to secure a contract, while another company provided investment but avoided responsibility for the work. Under the revised law, if a contract needs to be terminated, the completed work will first be evaluated and only the remaining work will be considered for the seizure of bank guarantees and backlisting procedures. The tender process has also been shortened. The deadline for international bids has been reduced from 45 days to 30 days, while the period for national bids has been reduced from 30 days to 21 days. The amended act includes provisions to reward contractors who complete projects on time and take action against those who cause unnecessary delays. It also introduces a system for monthly payments to contractors, which is expected to ensure timely wages for workers, employees, and suppliers. The law has also made it mandatory for construction workers to be enrolled in the Social Security Fund. The government says the revised Public Procurement Act marks the beginning of a new era of transparency and accountability, while timely completion of infrastructure projects. Sabika Shrestha, NTV World. From challenges in various sectors to strengthen the economy, Prime Minister Balendra Shah has been engaging with export-oriented industries to boost exports and narrow Nepal's widening trade deficit. Prime Minister Balendra Shah held discussions with the representatives of export-oriented industries on balancing imports that are nearly 6 times higher than exports. Prime Minister Shah invited industrialists to deliberate on ways to manage the growing trade deficit, enhance the capacity to export-oriented industries and explore the potential for expanding such industries. Prime Minister Shah discussed challenges in export promotion, policy reforms and possible solutions with them. Prime Minister of late has been holding continuous dialogues with private sector industrialists and stakeholders to promote the country's economy. Meanwhile, Nepal's foreign trade has reached 24,11,660,000,000 rupees by the end of the fiscal year 2025-26. In the previous fiscal year, foreign trade has stood at 20,81,150,000,000 rupees. This represents a growth of 15.88%. According to the latest data published by the Department of Customs, overall foreign trade increased last fiscal year, but so did the trade deficit. Compared to the previous year, the trade deficit rose by 16.63%. The department's report shows that imports increased by 16.20% compared to the fiscal year 2025-26. Meanwhile, the share of exports in foreign trade fell from 13.31% to just 13.07% last fiscal year. Nepal has reached a historic milestone in its trade journey. For the first time, the country's exports have crossed the 400 billion rupee mark. The achievement signals growing momentum in economic diplomacy and renewed confidence in Nepali products abroad. Here's a report.
From the bustling ports to the mountain valleys, Nepali exports crossing 400 billion mark record symbolizes a nation pushing beyond its traditional boundaries. According to the Department of Customs, Nepal's total exports stood at around 400 billion rupees, while imports soared past 2 trillion. The trade deficit has widened to nearly 1.8 trillion rupees, a reminder that the country's import dependence remains heavy. Economists say the export-to-import ratio has slipped to 15%, underscoring the need for stronger domestic production and diversification. Edible oils continue to dominate Nepal's export basket as refined soybean oil alone earned more than 128 billion rupees, followed by palm and vegetable oils at 20 billion in the last fiscal year. Large cardamom, woolen carpets and ready-made garments round out the top 5, reflecting both agricultural strength and craftsmanship. Together, these products account for nearly 2/3 of Nepal's total export earnings. Beyond industrial goods, Nepal's heritage exports remain strong. Pashmina shawls, tea, coffee, and handicrafts continue to carry the country's identity to global markets. These traditional items earned close to 10 billion rupees combined. Emerging sectors such as renewable energy, herbal products, and IT services are now joining the export mix, signaling a gradual shift toward innovation and sustainability. On the import side, petroleum products remain the biggest burden, costing nearly 300 billion rupees. Crude soybean oil imports reach 130 billion rupees, much of which is refined and re-exported. The imbalance between raw material imports and finished goods exports continues to weigh on Nepal's foreign reserves, making the trade deficit one of the largest in South Asia. Diversifying exports, boosting domestic industries, and reducing import dependence are now top priorities. With strategic partnerships, innovation, and better infrastructure, Nepal aims to build a balanced trade future. Crossing 400 billion rupees is a proud moment, but the journey toward economic stability has only just begun.
That's the perspective for this week. We'll be back next week with other highlights of the week. Stay tuned to NTV World.
Actually, when I was 16, back in 2015, I was at a music festival. This music is called bluegrass that I play, and I was at this bluegrass festival, and this person named Tara Linhart. She is amazing. You can talk to her more, but she had a fantastic project called the Mountain Music Project. And I heard this project of Nepali musicians and bluegrass musicians coming together and fusing the music. And I thought it was really, really cool to see this cross-cultural collaboration. But I really just wanted to get back to music. And so I reached out to Tara. I had an opportunity to get some funding. And I emailed her randomly. She was in Bhutan at the time. And I said, hey, I want to set up a music project in Nepal. Can you connect me with some of your buddies? And she got on a WhatsApp call and started giving me the lowdown of how awesome it was. One of the people she introduced me to was actually Prince's father, Sham Nepali. And we met in New Hampshire. And we jammed together and had a great time. And he said, oh, when you get to Nepal, you have to meet my son. He's so great. He'll play music. You'll play music together. I was like, yeah, whatever. Okay. Like, every dad is going to say that about their son. Like, is it going to be great? Well, then 3 months later, I showed up in Nepal, and I had only brought a mandolin, and I wanted a guitar to write some songs on. So I called up Shamdai, and I said, hey, can I borrow a guitar? He said, yes, come meet my son. And so I met Prince in Kirtipur, and we started playing that day. And then we sat down and we started playing, and it was just like magic. It was just sort of this instant connection. That was pretty special and crazy to me that we grew up on opposite sides of the world, and there are American musicians who I don't vibe with. We don't have a connection. But me and Prince, it was just an instant connection. And so we started jamming together.
It's a love song that my great-grandfather composed. And we're going to fuse with another bluegrass love song. सानी सानी ए झिल्के नानी कति राम्रो कपाल कोरेकी सानी सानी ए झिल्के नानी कति राम्रो कपाल कोरेकी हाय हाय कति राम्रो कपाल कोरेकी चस्मे दाजु झिल्के मिल्के जुल्फी मात्र कोर्ने चस्मे दाजु झिल्के मिल्के जुल्फी मात्र कोर्ने दारी जुङ्गा दन्त देखाई मेरो मन चोर्ने दारी जुङ्गा दन्त देखाई मेरो मन चोर्ने नजिस्काउन हे परुलाई हाय शिवर काकी छोरीलाई नजिस्काउन हे परुलाई हाय शिवर काकी छोरीलाई सानी सानी ए झिल्के नानी कति राम्रो कपाल कोरेकी हाय हाय कति राम्रो कपाल कोरेकी
जन्म दिने भगवान त हुर्काइदिने आमा जन्म दिने भगवान त हुर्काइदिने आमा कसले हेर यति राम्रो पहिराइदियो जमा कसले हेर यति राम्रो पहिराइदियो जमा सानी सानी एझिल्के नानी कति राम्रो कपाल छोडेकी सानी सानी एझिल्के नानी कति राम्रो कपाल छोडेकी हाय हाय कति राम्रो कपाल छोडेकी हाय हाय कति राम्रो कपाल छोडेकी हाय हाय कति राम्रो कपाल
She was living in a lonely cabin with another man. 5 years she had waited for him as long as a woman can, as long as a woman can. And I don't know what changed my mind, till then I was a rambling kind of love I can't explain that I had for Nellie Kane. To help her till the lands. In the afternoon we planted seeds, in the evening we held hands, in the evening we held hands. And her blue eyes told me everything that a man could want to know. It was then I realized how it never go, how it never go. And I don't know what changed my mind, till then I was a rambling kind of love explain that I had for Nellie Kane. Grown up tall, I became a father to him, and she became my all. She became my all. And I don't know what changed my mind, till then I was a rambling kind of love I can't explain that I had for Nellie Kane. No, I don't know what changed my mind, till then I was a rambling kind of love I can't explain that I had for Nellie Kane. Well, first of all, I just fell in love with Nepali culture. I love momos, I love dal bhat, I love it all. I love this beautiful country. I think our message to the world, one of them is that we want to show more people the beautifulness of Nepal. I think that from my perspective, I love Nepali folk music, but in this country, sometimes people haven't valued it. They've looked to the West for other influences. And so one of our goals is to bring up Nepali folk and fusing it. We're not just doing pure folk music, but to show that this is a vibrant, evolving history and tradition that is still relevant today. And then I also think to people abroad, and especially to Nepalis, I want to show them that they can take their instruments and their culture and they can bring it to the world, and that it's so amazing. I mean, everyone who I know maybe they don't know so much about Nepal, maybe the only thing they know is that Mount Everest is there. But then once they try a momo, once they hear some music, then they love it. And so we want to just share this music with more people and share the cross-cultural collaboration. I know I've been saying this for a couple of years now, but because we recorded an EP for one day, and then I've been gone from Nepal for the last year, and the hard drive just sat, and no one did anything with the files yet. So we finally got the files going, and we are finally working on our debut EP that will feature a lot of these songs, including the next one, which is one I wrote a couple of years ago. Cause all day I chug way after work and try to shove down all of the hurt. But sometimes at the end, does it fade on the page and my eyes just run a glaze? Let it burn and I sing hallelujah, 'cause I can
promise again. Snowy road, and I say, hallelujah, I'm on fire, I'm on fire. And I say, hallelujah, let it burn, and I say, hallelujah, 'cause I can finally feel something instead of just nothing at all. And I say, hallelujah, I'm on fire, I'm on fire. And I say, hallelujah, let it burn, and I say, hallelujah, 'cause I can finally feel something instead of just nothing at all. Cause when the night burns cold, it's when I lose my mind. No, I can't bear this endless ticking of time.
Well, right now we really want to go abroad, and in particular my dream is to bring the band to the US, to these festivals that I grew up going to, because I think it's so cool. I love playing the music that I grew up with, but with tabla on it, and the beat is dropping. It's so awesome. But right now we've been having a little bit of trouble figuring out with the visas, especially right now, so we're working on that. And then also being abroad. It's very difficult when I've moved back to the US recently, and so when we're far away, it's hard we can't make music in the same way, but it also means that the times when we are together, I've been back for a month, are just extra special because we get to make music together.
Doctors shut outpatient services across Nepal in protest over assault on physician. 68 doctors resign en masse. Curfew extended in Nepal, Sunsari amid security concerns. Government urges calm, restraint and social harmony. Nepal Parliament prepares for monsoon session with focus on bills and smooth proceedings. Speaker consults party whips. Trump holds back-to-back White House talks with Netanyahu and Zelensky. Israeli Prime Minister seeks support as Ukraine leader pushes for continued U.S. backing. Rescue efforts intensify in southwestern Japan following powerful earthquake. Authorities search for dozens missing after buildings collapse. And France appoints Zidane as new national head coach. World Cup winning icon begins new era ahead of 2030 campaign. Good evening, I'm Sarah Sapsana Marai and this is NTV World News Hour coming to you live from Kathmandu at 2200 hours Nepal time. Now the news in detail. Doctors across Nepal suspended outpatient department OPD services today in protest against the assault of a physician at Narayani Hospital in eastern Nepal's Parsan district. The Nepal Medical Association, the umbrella body representing doctors in the country, announced the nationwide shutdown, saying that all hospital services except emergency care would remain closed. Only emergency services operated across the country today, according to the association. The closure has left many patients seeking treatment stranded at hospitals, with routine medical consultations and checkups disrupted. The protest follows a violent attack on doctors and health workers at Narayani Hospital in Birganj on July 24th, along with vandalism at the hospital premises. The association has demanded strict action against those responsible for the incident. Dr. Pramod Ram, a medical officer at Narayani Hospital who was seriously injured in the attack, has been transferred to Kathmandu and is receiving treatment at National Trauma Center. Meanwhile, 68 doctors working at Narayani Hospital have submitted collective resignations to Medical Superintendent Dr. Chittaranjan Shah, expressing their protest over the security situation. We'll dive deeper into this in our issue of the day segment later in the bulletin. Now, authorities in eastern Nepal's Sunsari district have imposed an indefinite curfew after a violent incident triggered rising tensions across several areas, including parts of the east-west Mahendra Highway. Chief District Officer Ishwari Prasad Aryal said the curfew came into effect from 3:30 p.m. on Tuesday under Local Administration Act 2028, following concerns over public security and disruption to daily life. The restrictions cover Mahendra Highway section from Bakali Chowk in Itahari to Koshi Barrage Bridge, along with areas extending 200 meters on both sides of the highway. Public gatherings, rallies, protests, meetings and movement in the restricted areas have been banned. Authorities have also imposed restrictions in Inarua Market area. Meanwhile, the impact of the unrest has spread to nearby Morang district, in which the Biratnagar city's major markets, banks, financial institutions and schools remain closed today as local youths enforce a shutdown demanding justice over the shooting incident. Meanwhile, the Nepal government has issued a statement expressing serious concern over the incident in Kaptanganj of Devanganj rural municipality in Sunsari district and the situation that followed in several parts of eastern Nepal. The government expressed condolences to those who lost their lives and wished a speedy recovery to the injured, including security personnel, while confirming free medical treatment arrangements for the victims. It said an investigation is underway and stressed that disputes, grievances and disagreements cannot be resolved through violence or confrontation. The government urged all sides to maintain restraint, avoid spreading rumors and misinformation, and protect Nepal's traditions of religious tolerance, social unity and communal harmony. The statement issued by Hemraj Aryal, spokesperson and joint secretary at the Office of the Prime Minister and Council of Ministers, called on political parties, civil society, religious organizations, media and citizens to help maintain peace and stability. Nepal's House of Representatives is set to resume its session this week after nearly 2-week hiatus, but the lower house is facing criticism over the absence of a clear legislative agenda. Ahead of Thursday's sitting, Speaker Dol Prasad Aryal held consultations with chief whips and party representatives to discuss parliamentary priorities, pending bills and ways to improve the effectiveness of proceedings. Political parties agreed to continue the session until October 13, while emphasizing the need for meaningful debates and orderly discussions inside the chamber. However, opposition lawmakers have accused the government of failing to bring forward key bills and policy discussions, raising concerns over repeated delays and agenda-less meetings. More on this in our cover story segment later. Moving on, U.S. President Donald Trump held separate meetings with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky at the White House, as both leaders sought support amid ongoing wars in Iran and Ukraine. Netanyahu arrived at the White House with Ambassador to the U.S. Yeshiel Leiter, Chief of Staff Ida Norden, Military Secretary to the Prime Minister Major General Guy Marquezano, and advisors. The meeting came amid strained ties between Trump and Netanyahu. The two leaders have disagreed over Israel's military actions in the region, with Trump previously urging caution over operations involving Hezbollah, the Iran-backed militant group in Lebanon. Zelensky's meeting with Trump followed Netanyahu's visit as Ukraine continues its war against Russia and seeks continued U.S. military and diplomatic backing. Now, a powerful magnitude 7.1 earthquake struck Japan's Kumamoto prefecture at 4:27 p.m. local time today, registering the highest level of 7 on the country's seismic intensity scale and causing widespread damage across the region. Rescue operations are continuing after an explosion at Aeon Mall, Kumamoto in Kashima town, caused part of the building's second floor to collapse. Police believe about 20 to 30 people are unaccounted for inside the shopping mall, although it remains unclear whether customers are among those missing. Authorities are also investigating reports that several people are unaccounted for after a smokestack collapsed at a Nippon paper factory in Yatsushiro City. More than 50 injured people have been admitted to a hospital in Kumamoto City. About 48,000 households remain without power. Rail services across Kyushu have been suspended and a freight train derailed. The Japan Meteorological Agency has warned residents to remain alert for strong aftershocks, particularly over the next 2 to 3 days. Former Real Madrid manager Zinedine Zidane has been confirmed as the head coach of the France national team. Didier Deschamps, France's longest-serving manager, ended his 14-year stint in charge after the nation's semi-final exit to Spain at the 2026 World Cup. Zidane, a World Cup winner with France in 1998, has been out of management since leaving Real Madrid for a second time as head coach in 2021. The 54-year-old, widely considered to be France's greatest player, will sign a contract that will see him lead the nation through the 2030 World Cup qualifiers. On being appointed, he said it was a great source of pride to lead the French national side following their fourth-place finish at the World Cup. Zidane's predecessor, Deschamps, guided France to 3 major finals over his 14-year reign, helping the country to their second World Cup success with victory in 2018. Zidane's first competitive fixture in charge will be a Nations League trip to Turkey on 25th of September. Now, doctors on the streets, patients left waiting. A nationwide OPD shutdown has disrupted healthcare services across Nepal after a violent attack on medical professionals. What triggered the protest? Why are doctors demanding security and justice? Stay with us for a special coverage in our issue of the day after this break. You're watching NTV World and this is News Hour. Welcome back. Time now for our issue of the day. It's not for the first time, but medical professionals have suspended all services except emergency across the country in protest of an assault of a doctor in Birganj. Questions are raised whether strikes in emergency services should be totally disallowed and what about the safety of those who are the saviors of patients. A report.
Doctors across the country have continued their protest by suspending outpatient department OPD services at hospitals in protest of the assault and abuse of a physician at Narayani Hospital in Birganj. The protest was triggered after Dr. Pramod Ram, a physician at Narayani Hospital in Birganj, was allegedly assaulted and hospital property was vandalized. Emergency care and surgical procedures continue, but all other services have been suspended nationwide. Since Monday, patients across the country have complained of being unable to receive timely medical treatment. Human rights activists say that while no one should resort to violence to press their demands, shutting down essential health services is also inappropriate. Health workers, meanwhile, say they were compelled to launch the protest because of the repeated attacks have left them feeling unsafe. Nepal Medical Association has stated that the protest will automatically end once those responsible for the assault are brought to justice.
बन्द गर्न रहरै छैन अहिले पनि बन्द भन्नाले काम नभइरहेको छैन हिजो अस्ति जिल्लाबाट आएर भर्ना हुनुभएको होला आज अपरेसनको दिन छ हैन त्यो बन्द गरेर चाहिँ अपरेसन नभएको भन्ने चाहिँ छैन भइरहेको छ बन्दै नगरिकन अब एउटा तपाईको फुटेजहरुमा देखिरहेको जब भिक्टिमले नै मान्छे चिनेको डायरी दिएको कन्डिसनमा उलाई कस्टडीमा लिन किन यत्रो ठुलो व्यवधान भएको यो बुझ्न सकिया छैन कि हाम्रो एउटा मात्रै भिक्टिमलाई आघात पुर्याएको व्यक्तिलाई समातेर कानुनी रूपले गर्दिनुस् हामी 1 सेकेन्ड अहिलेको अहिले अस्पतालहरु तुरुन्तै खुल्छन्.
The government says it is working to resolve the issue through dialogue and negotiations and has appealed to the protesting health workers to resume all hospital services.
अहिले नै टेलिभिजन मार्फत पनि मैले सम्पूर्ण चिकित्सक स्वास्थ्य कर्मीहरूलाई हार्दिक अपील गर्छु संवेदनशील क्षेत्र संवेदनशील पेशामा संलग्न रहेका तपाईं हामी सबैजनाले यो संवेदनशीलतालाई बुझेर सेवाग्राहीलाई केन्द्रमा राखेर काम गरिदिनु पर्ने हुन्छ. अर्को सेवाग्राहीको तर्फबाट हेर्दाखेरि अस्पताल संवेदन क्षेत्र हो अलिकति जटिल ठाउँमा हामी उपचार गर्न अलि गाह्रो भएको अवस्थामा लगेका हुन्छौं. त्यो ठाउँमा तपाईं हामीले स्वास्थ्य कर्मीहरूलाई अथवा अस्पतालमा स्वास्थ्य सेवा प्रवाह गर्ने खालको वातावरण बनाएनौं. हामी एकदम आवेगमा आयौं अलि संवेदना अलिकति त्यस्तो घटनाहरूलाई हेरेर हामी अलिकति त्यसअनुसार भावुक भएर अलि अर्को उसमा गयौं भने त्यसले तपाई पछि अर्को अस्पतालमा सेवा लिन आउने व्यक्तिहरूलाई असर गर्न सक्ने खालको अवस्था सिर्जना गर्छ. त्यसैमा स्वास्थ्य कर्मीहरू लाग्नु भयो गर्नुभयो भने अर्कोलाई सेवा गर्न सकिदैन. यस्तो अवस्थामा सेवा प्रदायक सेवाग्राही दुईटैले जटिल अवस्था हो संवेदनशील अवस्था हो. यसमा सबैले आफ्नो तर्फबाट काम गर्न सक्ने वातावरण बनाउनु पर्छ. स्वास्थ्य कर्मीले पनि आफूले सकेसम्मको अधिकतम हिसाबले उपचार व्यवस्थापन चाहिँ सफल होस् भनेर प्रयास गर्नुपर्छ. गरिरहनु पनि भएको हुन्छ. त्यस्तो गर्दै जाँदा कहिलेकाहीँ केही त्रुटि भइहाल्यो भने त्यसैलाई चाहिँ कारण बनाएर काम गर्ने वातावरण नै नहुने खालको बनाइदिने खालको हाम्रो जुन अभ्यास छ त्यो अभ्यास चाहिँ नगर्दिनु हुन म सबैलाई हार्दिक अनुरोध गर्छु.
With health workers continuing their nationwide protest, services at both public and private hospitals have been severely disrupted. Human rights advocates warn that unless the government and authorities concerned take this sensitive issue seriously, the situation could worsen further. Sabika Shrestha reporting for NTV World.
The dispute that began after a patient died while undergoing treatment at Narayani Hospital in Birganj has become increasingly complicated instead of moving towards a resolution. After the administration's attempt to mediate between the deceased's family and the doctors failed, hospital services have halted across the country today. A total of 68 doctors at Narayani Hospital have also submitted their collective resignation. Lakshmi Kharel brings a report.
अंदाजे 50 वर्ष उमेरका
राजकुमार कुर्मी चेस्ट पेनले गर्दाखेरि यहाँ हाम्रो इमर्जेन्सी आकस्मिक कक्षमा आउनुभएको थियो अनि उहाँ भर्ना हुनुभएको थियो त्यसपछि हाम्रो सिस्टरको र उपचार र डाक्टरहरूले उपचारको क्रममा उहाँको निधन भइसकेपछि अनि बिरामीका आफन्तजीवहरूले यो डाक्टरको लापरवाहीले र त्यसले गर्दाखेरि यो निधन भएको हो यो हामी यसलाई स्वीकार गर्दैनौँ मान्दैनौँ भनेर विवाद खडा भइसकेपछि हाम्रो तोडफोड भयो डाक्टरलाई हाम्रो कुटपिट भयो त्यो पनि कुटपिटपूर्ण अवस्थामा भयो जब बिरामी पक्ष र अस्पताल व्यवस्थापन पक्ष बसेर एउटा सहमति जुटाइसकेका थियौँ।
From the following day, Sunday, doctors began their protest by shutting down even emergency services. Although the administration attempted to hold talks between both sides on Monday, no agreement could be reached. As a result, 68 doctors at Narayani Hospital submitted their collective resignation. While treatment for admitting patient has continued, all other services has remained suspended, and the impact of the protest has also been seen in hospitals across the country.
यसमा चाहिँ सबैभन्दा ठुलो अपिल म के गर्न चाहन्छु भने सरकारको जति छिटो हुन सक्छ यसमा ध्यान जाओस् दोषीलाई चाहिँ कारबाही होस् र हामीले चाहिँ हाम्रो पीडित चाहिँ चिकित्सकले न्याय पाउन् त्यति हो सरकारसँग मेरो बिन्ती अरु यसमा हाम्रो कुनै बटम लाइन छैन।
The Nepal Medical Association has demanded legal action against those involved in assaulting Dr. Pramod Ram and vandalizing the hospital. Police also stated that the investigation into the incident is ongoing. Superintendent of Police Sudeep Pathak urged both sides to exercise restraint and cooperate in resolving the issue through dialogue.
जो मृतक हुनुहुन्छ उहाँहरुको परिवार भन्नुहुँदैछ डाक्टर माथि छानबिन होस् उहाँहरुको लापरवाही माथि छानबिन होस् भन्ने एकातिर छ त्यसको लागि पनि हामीले उहाँहरुलाई सम्झाइ बुझाइ गरिसकेपछि हामी कानुनको दायरामा ल्याउँला कानुन अनुसन्धान गर्छौं भनेपछि उहाँहरु मान्नुभयो। अब डाक्टर साहबको हकमा पनि दुई जना मान्छे जसलाई डाक्टर साहब माथि हमला भएको छ त्यसमा संलग्न हुने दुई जना मान्छे हामीले सीसीटीभी फुटेज हेरेर उहाँहरुको भनाइ अनुसारै नियन्त्रणमा लिइसकेका छौं।
Before one incident could be resolved, a series of subsequent developments unfolded, resulting in doctors resigning, doctors protesting, hospitals becoming deserted, and patient being left in distress. The ultimate solution to all of this lies in dialogue, in seeking justice, and in trusting the administration. Whether it is the general public or the doctors, the administration must have the capacity to calm the grievances of those affected and resolve the problem. Therefore, it is essential for the concerned authorities to take this issue seriously and walk towards a solution. Lakshmi Kharel with Suveksha Rajak, NTV World.
And in this context, today in our Public Pulse segment, we asked the patients and their relatives about the problems they faced because of the closure of emergency hospital services. Here's what they had to say.
एउटा बरु निष्कर्ष निकाले भए राम्रो हुन्थ्यो बिरामीलाई त अब आज बन्द गर्छु हैन अनि भोलि जान्छु भन्ने त मिल्दैन नि त बिरामी इमर्जेन्सी छन् त छ इमर्जेन्सी भए पनि तर अब मान्छेलाई कहाँदेखि आउनुहुन्छ कहाँ परदेखि आइरहेको हुन्छ यहाँ बस्ने ठाउँ छैन खाने ठाउँको व्यवस्था मिलाइ हुँदैन।
अब हामी बिरामीहरूलाई चाहिँ यस्तो ओपिडीहरू बन्द गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ गाह्रो हुन्छ त्यसैले गर्दा यो चाहिँ खुलेदेखि राम्रो हुन्छ।
बिरामीलाई शास्ति हुन्छ नि त आन्दोलन यस्तो गर्नु हस्पिटलमा जस्तो मा त आन्दोलन गर्नु नहुने अरू भए पनि हस्पिटलमा सरकारी अफिस त बन्द गर्नु हुँदैन मान्छेले समस्या पर्छ।
हिजो पनि आए त्यत्रो लाइन बस्यो आज नि खोइ बन्द अनि फेरि भोलि नि आउनु घटेको छैन भात के खाने हो बन्द बन्द भन्छ अब खोइ खुल्ले हो कि नखुल्ले।
That was our issue of the day. Moving on, Nepal's House of Representatives is set to resume its session amid criticism over a lack of clear legislative priorities. Will the session deliver meaningful debates and key decisions or face another round of delays? Stay with us for our cover story. You're watching NTV World News Hour. I'm Sarah Sapsanama Rai. Welcome back. Time now for our cover story of the day. Nepal's House of Representatives Speaker D.P. Aryal has held consultations with chief whips and whips of political parties represented in Parliament ahead of the upcoming session. The meeting at the Speaker's office in Singhdarbar focused on the House agenda, improving parliamentary effectiveness and expediting pending bills. The parties also agreed to resume the monsoon session from Thursday after a nearly 2-week suspension and continue it until October 13. Rashtriya Swatantra Party RSP's Whip Prakash Chandra Pariyar said political parties agreed on the need to protect the Parliament's values and ensure discussions lead to meaningful outcomes. The role of question sessions, including issues raised during zero hour and special hour, was also discussed, with a focus on maintaining the dignity of the House. Nepali Communist Party Whip Yuvraj Dulal said the meeting examined the responsibilities of each political party in ensuring disciplined and orderly parliamentary proceedings. Parties are also seeking agreement on disputes between the ruling coalition and opposition to ensure smooth proceedings. The meeting was attended by representatives of several political parties, while Shram Sanskriti Party did not participate in the meeting. The House of Representatives is scheduled to resume its ongoing budget session on Thursday after an almost 15-day hiatus. But the absence of a clear legislative agenda has raised fresh concerns over the effectiveness of parliamentary proceedings. The lower house is expected to reconvene without major bills or substantive policy debates listed for discussion, prompting criticism over the prolonged budget session and repeated delays in legislative business. Opposition lawmakers have accused the government of failing to bring forward key legislation and pressing national issues for parliamentary debate, while also questioning the absence of Prime Minister Balendra Shah from recent House proceedings. Leaders from ruling parties have defended the situation, saying political consultations are continuing and consensus is needed before major legislative proposals can be tabled. The lack of a defined agenda has renewed scrutiny of coordination between the executive and the legislative, with delays in bill drafting and political negotiations slowing the House's work. Key issues including economic reforms, governance, disaster preparedness and social welfare programs remain pending. That was our cover story of the day. On to other updates. Nepal's Karnali province has appointed Mangal Bahadur Shahi as its new chief minister, making him the 5th person to hold the post in the province. Province Chief Yagyaraj Joshi appointed Shahi as chief minister in accordance with Article 168(2) of Nepal's constitution after he secured majority support in the provincial assembly. Shahi, the parliamentary party leader of Nepali Communist Party, received backing from 14 lawmakers of the NCP and 10 lawmakers from CP and UML. The province chief's office said the appointment was made based on the decisions of both parties and support from majority of assembly members. The appointment follows a power-sharing agreement between the NCP and CP and UML, under which the NCP was given the leadership of the Karnali provincial government. The Karnali Assembly consists of 15 members from Nepali Congress, 14 from NCP, 10 from CP and UML, and 1 from Rashtriya Prajatantra Party. Nepal's Parliamentary Hearing Committee has completed hearings for 2 nominees proposed as election commissioners, Guru Prasad Wagle and Dr. Rajiv Subba. During the hearing held at Singhdarbar, both nominees presented their plans to modernize Nepal's election system, including expanding technology-based voting, providing voting access to Nepalis living abroad, and reducing election costs. Members of the Parliamentary Committee questioned the nominees about the reliability and practicality of technology-based elections, including risks of hacking, infrastructure needs, budget requirements, and possible legal reforms. The Constitutional Council had recommended Man Bahadur Karki as Chief Election Commissioner and Guru Prasad Wagle and Dr. Rajiv Subba as Election Commissioners. The parliamentary hearing for the Chief Election Commissioner nominee is scheduled for tomorrow at 11 a.m. Authorities in Nepal's Chitwan district have closed the Muglin-Narayangad road section, one of the country's most important highway links, from 8 p.m. today until 5 a.m. after the risk of dry landslides increased. The highway is a crucial transport corridor connecting Kathmandu, Pokhara and several eastern and western regions of Nepal. The Muglin-Narayangad section serves as a major gateway between the capital and the country's interior, carrying thousands of passengers, commercial vehicles and essential goods every day. According to District Administration Office, Chitwan, dry landslides have been falling near Muglin Bazar on the Narayangad side, creating a heightened risk for vehicles travelling at night. Officials said the decision was taken to prevent possible loss of life, and all types of vehicles along the Narayangad-Muglin route will remain suspended during the closure period. Cooperative fraud victims who have repeatedly staged protests over the years continue their demonstrations demanding justice. The victims gathered at Maitigar in the capital, urging the government to ensure justice and return their savings. Aprila Kising Lama, along with Pramila Bhandari, brings a report.
Victims of Nepal's cooperative crises have once again staged a protest in Maitigar, Kathmandu, demanding that the government ensure the return of their savings and take action against those responsible for the collapse of troubled cooperatives. Protesting under the banner of the National Campaign for the Protection of Cooperative Depositors, they have said that demonstrations and negotiations have failed to deliver justice. Protesters have accused the government of creating divisions between small and large depositors. They have demanded equality for all savers, regardless of the amount they deposit.
बाटोमा सडकमा बास छ मेरो भनेपछि यस्तो पीडा छ यहाँ म मात्रै पीडा मेरो मात्रै यो पीडा हैन तमाम मान्छेको यस्तै विभिन्न किसिमको पीडा छ कुर्सीमा बसेर मान्छेले त्यो भित्र के छ जालो के छ त्यो भित्र पसेर मान्छेले हेर्नु पर्यो.
The cooperative crisis has left billions of rupees in deposits at risk, affecting thousands of families and causing severe financial and emotional hardship. Protesters say they will continue protesting until all depositors are guaranteed the return of their savings.
10,000 भन्दा मुनि भन्नु भएको छ अब हाम्रो त रकम अलिकति छ त्यही भएर हो कि अब त्यो त अब हामीलाई पनि भित्रको मान्छे हामीसँग पनि छैन हामी त उही अब हुन्छ कि भन्ने आशले अब एउटा समितिबाट आउने हो हैन अब त्यही हो पाएको छैन हामीले 1 रुपैयाँ पनि पाएको छैन
सहकारीहरुका सञ्चालकहरुको लाई सम्म कारबाही गरी उनीहरुको सम्पत्तिबाट हुन्छ या कसरी हुन्छ त्यहाँ पक्कै पनि त त्यो हाम्रो रकम त्यहाँ भकै हुनु पर्छ त हैन र त्यो कले गरे त्यो सरकारले मार्फत हाम्रो माग सुनवाई हुनु पर्यो.
The problematic Cooperative Management Committee says it has made progress in compensating victims. During the last fiscal year, around 11,000 depositors received a total of 710 million Nepali rupees, which is more than $4 million through cash refunds and saving settlements. The committee says refunds have already been provided to depositors with savings of up to 10,000 Nepali rupees, while a second phase is underway to reimburse up to 25,000 Nepali rupees to senior citizens, single women, and people suffering from life-threatening illnesses.
10,000 भन्दा तलको जारी छ सँगसँगै हामीले त्यो ज्येष्ठतम नागरिकहरू एकल महिला र विभिन्न प्राणघातक रोगीहरू भनेर 25,000 जनै रूपमा औषधि उपचारको लागि प्राथमिक रूपमा दिने गरेका छौं. यसैले प्राथमिकता क्रममा दिने कुराको बचत भावी छ. अब बाँकी सबै बचतकर्ताहरूको अहिलेसम्म उठेको रकमबाट चाहिँ वितरण कहिले हुन्छ भन्ने प्रश्न पनि छ. बाहिर पनि छ. हिजो बचत पीडित महासंघ पनि आउनु भएको थियो. हामीले त्यसलाई साउनसम्म असुल भएको कर्जाको आधारमा रकमको आधारमा अनि भदौको तेस्रो हप्तातिर बचत फिर्ता दिने योजना बनाएका छौं.
Despite these measures, protesters say previous agreements with the government were not fully implemented. They insist this latest protest will continue until concrete action is taken to recover their savings.
Nepal's senior political figure, Nepali Congress leader and former Deputy Prime Minister Gopal Man Shrestha has died at the age of 79 while receiving treatment at a hospital in Kathmandu. Congress spokesperson Devraj Chalise confirmed his death, saying the veteran politician passed away at a hospital in Jaulak Hill. Meanwhile, Nepali Congress has called an emergency Central Working Committee meeting to pass a condolence resolution, while Shrestha's body will be kept at the party's central office for public tribute before his final rites at Pashupati Aryaghat. Party leaders, including President Gagan Kumar Thapa and former Prime Minister Sher Bahadur Dewa, paid tribute to Shrestha, highlighting his decades-long contribution to Nepal's democratic movement, party organization and public life. Nepal's President Ramchandra Paudel has expressed deep sorrow over the death of veteran democratic leader and former Deputy Prime Minister Gopal Man Shrestha, describing his passing as a major loss to the country's democratic movement. Officials in Nepal have conducted a joint inspection of the strategically important Dhumre-Besi Sahar Chame Highway, a key road linking the Himalayan district of Manang with the country's national road network. The inspection included lawmakers, chief district officers, security officials and local representatives from Lomjung and Manang districts, who assessed the road's condition, construction progress and maintenance needs. Authorities also reviewed obstacles delaying construction and discussed measures to improve coordination between contractors, government agencies and local stakeholders. Officials pledged to strengthen monitoring and ensure the project is completed on time, saying the upgraded highway will provide safer year-round transport while boosting tourism, trade, agriculture and economic activity in the two mountain districts. Now, the use of drone technology has been introduced for the first time in Nepal to sow grass and vegetation seeds as part of efforts to restore forests damaged by forest fires. Nepal's central northern district Rasua has initiated the seed dispersal operation in Jarsa Gothin community forest above Gatlang village in Ama Chodingmo rural municipality, targeting areas affected by recent fires. Officials said the first phase will cover 100 hectares of the 455 hectares of forest land damaged by fire. Rasua's Division Forest Office plans to disperse around 100 kilograms of seeds, including cypress, pine, rhododendron and other native plant species during the first year of the restoration program. The initiative is being carried out in coordination with the Forest Office and local community forest groups, aiming to accelerate ecological recovery in the Himalayan region. Kapasi Bhanjang, located on the border of Bhojpur and Khotang, has gradually begun establishing itself as a tourist destination. The number of domestic tourists has increased after the construction of the necessary tourism infrastructure. Ganesh Bista from Bhojpur brings a report.
Nature's hidden gem on the Bhojpur-Khotang border is fast becoming a must-visit destination. Local residents say tourist arrivals have grown after the development of infrastructure required for tourism promotion. During clear weather, visitors can enjoy spectacular views of various surrounding landscapes, attracting people seeking to experience the beauty of nature.
यहाँ भनेको मौसम अनुसार र चाडबाडको बारेमा चाहिँ एकदमै जमघट हुने नाता नालादेखि लिएर पर्यटकहरु पनि धेरै तर्फबाट आउने.
The local government has developed physical infrastructure at Kapase Bhanjang to facilitate both domestic and international tourism. Tourism-related facilities, including a park, a statue of Yalumbar, and other structures have been constructed. Visitors regularly arrive from different parts of Bhojpur and Khotang. Local residents believe that with greater publicity and promotion, the destination could also attract more international tourists.
धेरै नै मान्छे चाहिँ भित्रिरहेका हुन्छन्. 1-2 जना, 4-5 जना, 8-9 जना आइरहेका हुनुहुन्छ.
The ward office of Temkemayung Rural Municipality 9 stated that efforts are underway to develop Kapase Bhanjang into a major tourist destination. Since it lies at the junction of two districts, infrastructure development is being carried out in coordination with Khotang Rural Municipality of Khotang.
हामीले अहिले यो पर्यटन पूर्वाधारको लागि यहाँको संरक्षणको लागि हामीले काम गरिरहेका छौं. जस्तो यहाँ सुम्निमा पारुहाङको यहाँ मूर्ति छ. यो मूर्तिलाई संरक्षण गर्ने काम हामी 9 नम्बर वडाले नै गरेको हो र अरु पनि अझ के गर्न सकिन्छ हाम्रो क्षमताले भ्याएसम्म वडाको बजेटले धानेसम्म हामी यो कपासेलाई एउटा पर्यटन विकासको लागि केही काम गर्छौं भन्ने सोच छ।
According to the ward office, there are plans to extend the Mundung trekking trail to Kapase Bhanjang. With its green meadows, panoramic Himalayan views, and scenic vistas of the Tarai Plains, local residents say the destination is becoming increasingly attractive to visitors.
International news coming up next. For now, a quick recap of the headlines. Doctors shut outpatient services across Nepal in protest over assault on physician. 68 doctors resign en masse. Curfew extended in Nepal, Sunsari amid security concerns. Government urges calm, restraint and social harmony. Nepal Parliament prepares for monsoon session with focus on bills and smooth proceedings. Speaker consults party whips. Trump holds back-to-back White House talks with Netanyahu and Zelensky. Israeli Prime Minister seeks support as Ukraine leader pushes for continued U.S. backing. Rescue efforts intensify in southwestern Japan following powerful earthquake. Authorities search for dozens missing after buildings collapse. And France appoints Zidane as new national head coach. World Cup winning icon begins new era ahead of 2030 qualification campaign. Oman has presented a proposal to Iran for joint management of the Strait of Hormuz with voluntary fees that would ensure Tehran does not exercise sole control of the vital waterway. Iran, however, has said that Strait of Hormuz remains closed, while revealing that talks between Iran and Oman regarding the waterway have yielded positive progress. Ismail Baqi, the spokesperson, said these discussions have nothing to do with the U.S., but a purely bilateral matter between Iran and Oman. According to a report by Iran's Fars news agency, citing official sources, 6 vessels shut off their navigation and positioning systems in the early hours of Monday morning and attempted to transit through a southern channel of the Strait of Hormuz. The report alleged that the ships had attempted the passage under the instigation of the U.S. military. Iran's officials maintain that all transit through the strait must follow Iran-designated channels, warning that other routes present serious dangers. Now, the United States delegation walked out of a UN Security Council meeting after France's ambassador took the floor in protest against comments that compared Washington's voting record on human rights issues with those of authoritarian states, including North Korea. Dan Negria, an alternate representative to the UN General Assembly and senior U.S. delegation official, criticized France's remarks, accusing Paris of engaging in what he described as disingenuous grandstanding rather than constructive discussion. The diplomatic clash erupted during a Security Council session focused on human rights, where France raised concerns over the U.S. position on several related votes. The U.S. delegation said the comparison was inaccurate and rejected what it viewed as an attempt to undermine Washington's record. The walkout highlighted growing tensions between the two allies over approaches to international institutions, human rights policy, and the role of the United Nations in addressing global issues. Business news lined up next. For now, a short breather. China's Ministry of Commerce has urged The United States to withdraw additional tariffs imposed on Chinese goods over allegations related to forced labor, calling the measures unilateral and unjustified. A ministry spokesperson made the remarks in response to questions about Washington's recent decision to impose additional Section 301 tariffs on 60 economies, including China, following a forced labor-related investigation. The spokesperson said China opposes forced labor and has established a comprehensive legal and regulatory framework to prevent and combat such practices. The official also criticized the U.S., saying Washington had not ratified the International Labour Organization's Forced Labor Convention 1930 and had used the issue of forced labor for trade-related measures. Hundreds of protesters gathered as International Monetary Fund Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva arrived in Argentina for talks with President Javier Milei and senior government officials. The protests came as Milei's administration continues to implement sweeping economic reforms aimed at reducing public spending, cutting government subsidies and controlling inflation. The measures, central to Milei's campaign promises, have sparked widespread public opposition and frequent demonstrations across the country. During her visit, Georgieva met with Milei and economic officials to discuss Argentina's economic situation and reform efforts. The IMF has been a key partner in Argentina's financial recovery plans as the country works to stabilize its economy after years of high inflation and fiscal challenges. The visit highlights the ongoing debate over Argentina's economic direction as the government pushes forward with its austerity agenda. And with that, we move on to sports update. Hong Kong, China's fencers are making history in the 2026 Fencing World Championships. In the Team Volley event, the city's trio of Cheung Ka Long, Ryan Choi and Harris Ho are in the final for the first time, with the gold medal in sight. In the semi-final, Choi started first against the US. Olympic star Cheung Ka Long then fought to take the lead at 15-12 after 3 bouts. Reaching the end of the 6th bout, Hong Kong China was still leading 30-26. Choi eventually took the final bout with an accumulated score of 45 against 43. The team will take on the winner of the other semi-final, that is Italy, later this evening. Now the weather updates, first from Nepal and then around the world. Before wrapping up, let's take a look at the headlines once again. Doctors shut outpatient services across Nepal in protest over assault on physician. 68 doctors resign en masse. Curfew extended in Nepal, Sunsari amid security concerns. Government urges calm, restraint and social harmony. Nepal Parliament prepares for monsoon session with focus on bills and smooth proceedings. Speaker consults party whips. Trump holds back-to-back White House talks with Netanyahu and Zelensky. Israeli Prime Minister seeks support as Ukraine leader pushes for continued U.S. backing. Rescue efforts intensify in southwestern Japan following powerful earthquake. Authorities search for dozens missing after buildings collapse. And France appoints Zidane as new national head coach. World Cup winning icon begins new era ahead of 2030 qualification campaign. That's it for this edition of News Hour here on NTV World. Do join us through our social media and also visit our official website, nepaltelevision.com. I'm Sarah Sapsanamarai. Thanks for staying with us. Good night.